fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top now.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God!
God, what?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to SimSpeed TV. It's the second day of the Too Easy Finance Phillip Island 500 weekend here for the Virtual Racing School V8SCOPS 2022 season. And what that means is it's the second day of racing here for the Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series in 2022. My name is Daniel Yeaman. I've got Brad Wingard returning to the SimSpeed Commerce Box to join us for this evening's action. Jay Kennedy on production with us tonight for this one here. And well, Brad, great to have you back with us after several months away, as you've been obviously transitioning into, well, being a new father. So congratulations to you on that, and to your wife for welcoming your new baby to the world and settling in there. But well, we start off tonight with probably one of your favorite classes of racing, 2-litre Tourist TCR action here at the Island this evening.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. It's been 126 days since I was last in the commentary box, so please forgive me if I have any shortcomings. But yes, TCR at Phillip Island, what a fantastic combination, and so many iconic corners in Australian touring car racing, and not quite the big V8s that we're used to, but these things are a hell of a lot of fun around here.
Well, it's been a while since I've driven a TCR at Phillip Island. I actually remember the last time I did it, it was kind of a rough night for me, but I'm going to blame that down to the track being a problem more so than the car. I seem to be particularly cursed at this venue, but that's probably overstating things at the same time. So let's just have a look at this venue. It's obviously a classic of Australian motorsport, whether that be supercars, whether that be the MotoGP in years gone by, but 4.5 kilometers of very high flow, very high speed circuitry here, down on one of the southernmost points of Victoria, and well, the Bass Strait just over the edge of the island here as we're on the southern tip, so could be quite blustery out there this evening, but looks like things are fairly calm. And well, front wheel drive cars here tonight to start off with, Brad. Going to be a lot of caution and, well, easing the car in through corners like turn 1 and turn 2, just to name a few here.
Yeah, that first lap's going to be really difficult. So much understeer is prompted by these cars and these corners around here. We see the standings on screen now. Matthew Pluck leading the way by 24 points over Dylan Jordan, who leads Reese Gardner for third by 30 points. So still plenty to day for, still plenty to play for, and we've still got a few rounds left and a hell of a lot of racing.
That is very true indeed. And also noting, of course, the point structure here in the SCOPS Support Series means that while the gaps might, in fact, the top three are not very fast spaced apart. It's quite impressive that after 10 rounds of supports action that well, Two Tourists have raced, I think it's 5 times now this year, and well, it's only going to get busier from here on out. But yeah, they will be certainly busy and keeping our eyes on. Unfortunately, missed the action from last night's racing, which was part of the day 1 proceedings for the event in Hull. But here is how your top 10 looked after the checkered flag fell on what was a 17-lap race around the island. Thomas Hinds able to get the race win here. Brad ahead of Darren Mulqueen and Matthew Pluck not too far back there in third. Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to cut things short because we've only got a handful of seconds left before we get to the gridding phase for this race tonight. You can see here the stats for all of our support series races. 21 laps apiece tonight. 3 classes of racing to also get through. They'll all have to take a compulsory stop for at least 2 tyres between the end of laps 2 and 18.
Yeah, it's a pretty cut and dry strategy. Front wheels is what you would generally take in a front wheel drive car. And here is the grid now. A lot of names not missing, but a very small grid today, Daniel.
Let's walk you through them then. Yeah, not wrong there. It is a fairly quiet night, but plenty of drivers, I'm sure, pulling double duty with the main event on tomorrow afternoon. But let's walk you through it here. Thomas Hinz, with the race win last night, gets pole position for this second race here tonight. He'll have Damon Mulqueen alongside him on the front row. And then Matthew Pluck and Dylan Jordan for the Kiwi Sim Racing pair will start out of 3rd and 4th for this one. Reese Gardner's got Ray Oliver alongside him there in 5th and 6th respectively tonight. And then it's Ewan Baker and Benjamin Faulkner with Hayden Kirk, Isaac Edwards and Carl Sampson to round out the 11 cars on the grid, with Henry King in race control. The Porsche Cayman 7 or GT4 car will be there if needed for this one. So we await the revs to rise here in the 2-litre Series. Brad, 21 laps around the island. Time to see who can get that checkered flag first here. Green flag flies. We get this race underway, and it's a good start from the front of the field, but it's Reese Gardner slow off the line there. That's going to hurt him as they make the run to turn 1.
Yeah, very clean start otherwise. Little bit of 3x3 action in the middle of the pack, but it'll sort itself out before turn 1. A lot of side-by-side action. Plenty of racing room, though. That is Thomas Hinz still leading the way through Southern Loop. Damon Mulqueen right behind him. Matthew Pluck looking for a strong exit out of the hairpin, but everyone pointing the right direction, coming down towards the first major braking zone of the lap.
That is very true there indeed, as they make their way down towards the Honda hairpin here for the first time. Just see Ben Faulkner very deep under brakes around the outside, as Ray Oliver in the number 99 machine is up the inside of Carl Sampson. Sampson has made up 5 spots off the start of this one here. Surprising P11 start for this one tonight for Carl, is very much out of sequence, and just being confirmed that the reason being is that Carl Sampson missed the start on that one last night. So that's why he was sent to the back of the grid, and well, now has chance to make amends on the racing action this evening as they come up over Lukey Heights for the first time and down into MG. And let's see who looks for the moves. Ewan Baker there having to go to the inside, possibly even defending from a fellow KSR stablemate, Hayden Kirk, pardon me, but that gives Reese Gardner half a chance, but he won't be able to set one up there out of MG. And they'll go single file through the last 2 turns here to complete lap number 1 of 21.
Yeah, Reese Gardner, after bogging it down on the starts, lost 5 positions already, and he's in the grass. Reese Gardner, Isaac Edwards follows him. I think these guys are trying to take that grass strategy from Spa 24 Hours a little bit too seriously as they do their best lawnmower impression, but both make it through nice and cleanly. Got the 3 guys running away at the front: Thomas Hinz, David Mulqueen, and Matthew Pluck. Ray Oliver about at 1 second adrift, leading this pack all the way down to 9th place of Hayden Kirk.
Is a good point to make there indeed, as they come out of the Southern Loop here for the second time. And side by side between Oliver and Dylan Jordan there through Stoner Corner. Oliver on the inside there in the Audi RS3. Just going to keep enough overlappers. Meanwhile, for the front of the field, Thomas Hinz has had a bit of a bad run through Honda hairpin, and Damon Mulqueen's going to try swing around the outside, but here, Siberia, long left-hand turn, outside line in a front-wheel drive car that will be wanting to understeer. They keep it nice and tidy, though, here on lap 2. They come up to the hay shed here, Brad, and this is good stuff. We want to see this side-by-side action for the race lead. Hinz now the inside for Lukey Heights for contact. Sends Mulqueen to the gravel at Lukey. He's going to keep it away from the fence, thankfully, thanks to the slowdown the gravel provides, but he will shuffle all the way to the back of the field here.
Yeah, that was far from intentional. There's a big lot of net code on that. Unfortunately, like you said, Damon Mulqueen all the way back at the grid, but Matthew Pluck is the opportunist in this, going around the outside of the final corner. It's not an ideal line, but it's not exactly flawed either. He'll get a nice slingshot and draft down the main straight. That's an easy pass into turn 1. He looks to the inside early. Going to send it side by side, but it does give Thomas Hinz the inside for Southern Loop. So watch as this one unfolds, but I was about to say Matthew Pluck's already in front, but he's not. Hinsey comes back around the outside, and he has that inside line. Dylan Jordan's right there as well to try and get one over on Matthew Pluck.
The back and forth continues amongst this group here as we start lap number 3 of the race. Side by side between Jordan and Pluck, the KSR stablemates. Pluck's got the inside now for Honda Hairpin as they come up through Sona. Watch out for Ben Faulkner, who's looking for the inside on Ray Oliver, but no, they'll stay 2 by 2 through the Honda Hairpin this time. In fact, it's almost 3 deep and 2 wide on that particular occasion as a couple of cars blinking there, unfortunately. But look at this here, Ray Oliver in the middle of what looks to be a KSR, well, almost a double-decker sandwich, but Ben Faulkner kind of spoiling that one there for me when it comes to descriptive terminology, at least. But up to the hay shed they come once again. Your top 9 all in single file and 2 seconds covering the lot of them here. No one is able to get away thanks to the way this track works. As we check out the pedal camera action from your race leader Thomas Hinz here. See, onto the power pretty aggressively there out of the corner, Brad. So despite being front wheel drive, he's got good front end grip at this stage of the race.
Yeah, that Honda's fantastic out of the corners. Its initial acceleration is second to none. And we have an early pitter of Dylan Jordan. Wants his stop over and done with quickly. Not a bad idea with how the tyres work and the heat comes into them in these cars. So get that done early and he's going to have really good late race pace. But Matthew Pluck is again all over the back of Thomas Hinz coming into turn 1 and then into turn 2. But I don't think he's quite close enough to make a move.
He's close, but I think, yeah, definitely right to say that not quite close enough as they make their way down towards turn number 2. Once again, the battle for third is certainly heating up here. Ray Oliver in the number 99 Audi there. And I should also note, Ray Oliver, new paint and new team for this round of the series, formerly with Down Under Sim Esports, but has moved across to join the Frog Leap Racing team and sporting the new looks tonight as he fends off Ben Faulkner around the outside of the Honda hairpin. Carl Sampson was thinking about the inside there, but not able to make it stick. He will slide in as, meanwhile, again, Oliver struggling, this time through Siberia, Brad. Going to be vulnerable to Faulkner as they head up past the hay shed. And with the inside line for Lukey Heights, surely the 042 there in that ICT marketing race on Oscar has got this move done here as they come into the corner. Oliver's going to try Brad, but I don't think he has this, and the door is now wide open for Carl Sampson behind.
Yeah, Carl Sampson is on lap 4 at the moment, so that takes him to 10 laps total, only 6 laps practice so far after getting home on a late flight last night. He's up 6 positions, looking to make it 7 on Ray Oliver, but gets a pretty awful run out of the hairpin. Has to defend from Ewan Baker behind, but he's going to get that nice draft down the front straight, which should hopefully get him into a good defensive position. He's 0.3 seconds behind Ray Oliver, just enough for that prime drafting range.
Down the front straight away, and how about that? Race control, drive-through penalty to your race leader for the contact on lap number 2 with Damon Mulqueen there, Brad. Thomas Hinz out of position, out of order, now way down the field, and he comes out, well ahead of Dylan Jordan, who obviously has that pit stop complete, but now will be all alone back there as they head down towards the Honda hairpin for the 5th time in this race. Ray Oliver and Carl Sampson going at it now. Can Sampson get the job done on the outside? It's going to be a tough ask, but if he can get the power down, it's going to be hard against that Audi though, Brad, and Oliver will get the nose ahead, but the door's open for Siberia. That was possibly a bit of a mistake from Oliver. A little bit of contact there, but they draw up side by side to the hay shed. I think Oliver's lost another spot here. He's going to give up the inside line for Lukey Heights, crucially.
Yeah, that was an over-under that was set up at turn 1 and turn 2 at the start of this lap, and Carl Sampson's finally about to reap the rewards. He's just got to hold that line well, and if he can defend the hairpin, and he's going to go... He's not going to go all the way to the inside. He is. He turns in nice and early. Goes a bit deep, though. Checks everyone up behind him, and now Ray Oliver's under attack from Ewan Barker around the penultimate corner. They settle into it. No, they don't. Nearly side by side for the last corner. They are side by side for the last corner. That doesn't usually work. So far, nice and clean though, and that's why we love this car and this track, because you might have the outside for one corner, but you're inside for the next one, and it takes a lap and a half, 2 laps to decide what position you're in.
A very, very busy couple of opening laps. Again, once the support series here with the Logitech G category or program for 2022, Brad. Small car sizes, but been putting on some good racing. In spite of that, meanwhile, that was Reese Gardner in the grass at the Southern Loop. Oh dear, more woes for the 94 after trouble there off the race start. We'll check it out on the replay thanks to Virtual Racing School here as they come through the corner. And you had side-by-side action just there with one of the KSR Hondas. I believe that might have been Hayden Kirk in the 371 machine. Unfortunately for Gardner, out wide, loses the rear in the initial braking phase, and there was no chance to recover that one. He rejoins the track right in front of Isaac Edwards, 7th place, but now 6.5 seconds off of the leading drivers as people into the pit lane include Thomas Hinz getting his service complete, but also David Mulqueen clearing his stop. So that is now 3 drivers with pit service complete as your leaders, circulating and heading up down into MG as we speak. And more drama for Ray Oliver in the sense that, once again, Brad losing places up the inside of Lukey Heights here.
Yeah, it's really not all potential issue there. Hayden Kirk runs wide out of the hairpin. That's going to check the field up. Ray Oliver might have a run down into turn 1 now because Hayden Kirk was coming through at a screamer until Ewan Barker checked up at the exit of the hairpin. So Ray Oliver's got a really good run. It's interesting to note that Dylan Jordan has gapped Damon Mulqueen after the pit stops. They're 1.9 seconds clear, so that early pit stop's really paying off. We're nearly 3 wide into turn 1. That's a hell of a lot more exciting than some pit nonsense. We've got more cars in the pits, and we're still side by side coming out of turn 1.
Well, interesting commentary there from you, Brad, but you're not wrong as it's, Ewan Baker, Hayden Kirk and Ray Oliver going at it here, but your race lead fight is on, and, well, Carl Sampson's been absolutely tearing them up here as this time it's his fellow KSR stablemate, Matthew Pluck, he's going to get up the inside of it, and it now makes 4 KSR cars in the top 4 with Ray Oliver, the lone man, standing guard in behind. Ben Faulkner there having pitted, comes out as your net race leader ahead of Dylan Jordan in the number 21 machine. Reese Gardner has also completed his pit service and slots into P10 there. So you can see now the difference in strategy is our drivers opting to get pit stops out of the way early and trust in the car to be able to run long here. Although these guys who have pitted, they're going to have a couple of laps of teething issues and pain. But also crucially, at a track like this, the draft is going to be pretty powerful. So you do need to make sure you've got someone to work with here tonight. Otherwise, you will be a little vulnerable to just losing pace down the front stretch in particular, and a little bit down between the Southern Loop and the Honda hairpin for good measure here.
Yeah, draft is so crucial, and that's why I'm wondering if this KSR duo up the front are going to try and work together, but Carl Sampson is lapping at a rate of knots. He is the fastest car on track so far, 0.2 of a second quicker than Damon Mulqueen. I was going to make a pun about Matthew's race lead being plucked away from him, but you took too long and now it's been ruined. So everyone gets to suffer in delayed sigh and agony. But I had to come back and make a pun at some point. So there we go. I promise that's the only one I'll make. Battle for third is still raging on with Ewan Barker, Hayden Kirk and Ray Oliver separated by 0.7 of a second. 2.5 seconds behind that lead pack. And it doesn't matter where you look, there's a battle pack pretty much all over this race at the moment.
Very true there indeed. And, well, busy out on circuit. Meanwhile, Isaac Edwards takes his compulsory pit stop out of a P8, that would have been, but he now slots back into P10. And, well, now a fair ways down. This is your battle for the leaders of those who have pitted. Going to look at something here on the replay thanks to Virtual Racing School. Once again, see what happens here. So on board, which I believe will be Ben Faulkner, as we've got the number 21 Dylan Jordan in behind. Nice slipstream off of the last couple of turns here, Brad, and well up the inside at turn 1. In the TCR cars here, not much you can do to fight that one around the outside. So job fairly easily done. And Faulkner not looking to fight that one too hard. Best to keep the momentum up here at this phase of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. These cars might not be MX5 level of having to keep momentum, but it does take them a little while to get up to speed. So momentum is everything, especially with minimizing wheel spin out of the slow corners. So very smart idea for Ben Faulkner to let that one go without much of a fight. He's still on for a net podium position as it stands. So that's a little while away yet. Lap 9 of 21. We have Thomas Hinz in the pits. I'm going to assume that that could be a retirement because that's his third trip down the pit lane, and that's pretty unfortunate to see. Pole to a DNF is not something that we want.
Yeah, no sign of any issues. Yeah, no issues with the car on the previous lap, and well, Mr. Hinz will be a busy man tonight doing several of the support categories, so looks like deciding to cut the losses, unfortunately, a little early on to reset and try again. And we'll see him in action later on in the evening. But, well, back to live pitch as we go, and back once again focusing on this fight between your leaders who have pitted here. Jordan from Faulkner from Damon Mulqueen, and, well, the man who's putting the foot down on track is certainly Damon Mulqueen at the moment. Fastest man 2 laps in a row, the only driver into the 1:36s as well, Brad, as he looks for the inside of Faulkner at the Honda hairpin, but not quite there. Under brakes this time. He'll have to set something up at another stage, but he wants to keep that momentum up, and, well, he's going to do that. He needs to put his foot down here and really get some clean air to keep improving his times, because he's stuck behind these two here. While these drivers ahead, certainly Faulkner and Jordan doing a solid job. Now up a good 4/10 down on what Mulqueen has shown he can do here at the moment.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say Dylan and Ben are no slouches in these TCR cars, but at the moment they feel like snail's pace compared to what Damon's doing in that 42 Hyundai, and he gets a good run out of the hairpin. I reckon this is going to be a move down into turn 1. This draft is strong. Of course, Ben Faulkner will have the draft off Dylan Jordan in front, but he's nowhere near close enough compared to Damon Mulqueen, who has no one behind him for another 8 seconds, so he's got plenty of room to work with. In saying that, though, Ben Faulkner's run out of turn 2 was the final corner was absolutely sublime.
Yes, to be honest, I think actually watching the run out of the penultimate turn for Mulqueen opted to open the exit out of MG too much, and as a result, that completely cannibalized the ability to carry speed through turn 11 here, and which I think that's showing how much it's going to, well, it pays to be really precise with the lines here around this circuit. What it might do, though, is just give Mulqueen that little bit of space to work back into with the slipstream here to set up another fast lap, because, well, on that previous lap, not too bad, a 1:37.3, but it was 3/10 down on your race leader as a result, who's almost in the 36s is Carl Sampson, but just needs find a little bit more to be able to pull that one off. But you can see here on this lap, Mulqueen has immediately eaten that gap up. As, speaking of your race leader, he's come to the pit lane just before the halfway mark of the race. Get that compulsory stop out of the way here.
Yeah, split the race near enough in half. It's going to be really interesting to see where he comes out. Spinning the tyres, lucky this isn't a, any other category that runs in Australia, or that would be a slam dunk penalty, but nothing of the sort in this, and he's going to hit the ground running literally as the net leaders come around the penultimate corner. This is going to be close.
Let's see here now. Sampson's finished service, 24 seconds almost. He's rolling now out of the box, and I think he will hang on to the race lead, but these guys will have a head of steam coming into turn 1. It's going to be close as Sampson's off the lane and accelerating back onto the racing line. He will have a tiny bit of track space here, but cold tyres on this lap. These guys are going to be coming ahead at knots, and speaking of coming at speed, it's Mulqueen up past Faulkner into turn 1. He's not waiting around because that is the man. He wants to go race for the win tonight, and this is incredible stuff from Mulqueen, really. Early pit stop for him, try and recover after being, unfortunately, a bit of a bump that sent him wide into the gravel at Lukey Heights, and he's already back into net P3 in the race. And, well, Matthew Pluck now needs to probably come down the pits shortly, because the gap that he's going to slot into is basically on top of these 3 cars in the main ground. A shot is around the outside of the Honda hairpin. Mulqueen's going to try it on Dylan Jordan, and I think he's got the job done. Nose ahead on the way out of the turn into Siberia here, Brad, and he will seal that deal, and now has a clear shot at Carl Sampson, who still needs to build a bit of pace and a bit of warmth into the front tyres on his car.
Yeah, this is such a good battle to watch. Sampson and Mulqueen is going to be absolutely insane once both tyres get up to temp and both cars get within, that 0.3 of a second. Hayden Kirk into the pits now with Ewan Barber as well. So only Ray Oliver and Matthew Pluck left to pit. Matthew Pluck is coming round Southern Loop now. Ray Oliver 6 seconds behind him. So I don't know where those guys will end up. It's definitely going to be in some battle because there's not really a part of the track where there isn't a battle going on at the moment. But that important one is between Carl Sampson, Dylan Jordan, and Ben Faulkner,
And
who passed
they're
now.
gonna- yeah, I was going to say, they're going to come into this battle pack. No, they're not. They're going to get absolutely left in the dust of Baker and Kirk there as they roll off the lane out of now down to turn one. But, well, Matthew Pluck is still out in the race lead. He's the one I'm waiting to see if he can just sneak into this group here. He was about 2 seconds off Sampson when he came into the pits, but critically, look at the gap that Sampson has. Basically nothing. Mulqueen, full head of steam in that Synergy Sim Racing. The Hyundai TCR forces Sampson to think about a defensive early into Honda, and just later on the brakes is Mulqueen. Although latest on the brakes that time was Dylan Jordan, just in behind these two guys. Almost ran towards the rear of Mulqueen's car as we go out the rear of Sampson, leading the train here into Siberia. Different lines to try and find the best apex through the turn, and then wind their way up to Lukey Heights once more here. Lap 12 or 21 into this second half of the race now.
Yeah, this is when it gets really interesting. Matthew Pluck is in the pits as well. I think he's going to miss out on this battle pack. He was about 40 seconds in front. It's about 44 to 45 second transit time, so he might just miss out, or he might slide himself right into the middle of it. We'll have to wait and see as the ladies come round turn 11 now. It's going to be very close between them, but Carl Sampson, 0.3 of a second off Mulqueen behind, and dropped a little bit through the middle half of that lap, but we've seen it time and time again. Good run, even a half decent run, round turn 12, and you were right on that bumper coming into turn 2. Little bit of a break around turn 1, not a lot, but the draft on this car is so strong. And then we see Matthew Pluck exiting the pits just behind these guys. He's going to get picked up by Ewan Baker in no time. 1.3 seconds behind, 1.2 seconds behind, but still this battle for the lead is raging on.
Watch that delta drop down, and, well, again, cold tyres are incredibly difficult to deal with in these cars, and given that they're taking 2 tyres, it's a little bit of an imbalance to work with for good measure. As well, this time by, Sampson seems to have found a bit of rhythm here. He's able to keep the gap at 0.4 of a second as they make their way down into the Honda hairpin here on lap number 13. Speaking of deep into the hairpin, Ben Faulkner up the inside of Dylan Jordan this time by. He's going to get his nose ahead for Siberia, but can Jordan force the issue to stay too wide through Siberia? He can, Brad. Now the drag race going to come on the exit here, but no, Faulkner not able to contest. He will slot back in line as they run up to the hay shed and Lukey Heights.
Yeah, it's not over yet though. We know what this track is like. He's right there. He might be able to squeeze it up the inside. Plays it safe though. Takes a nice early break up over the ridge, and as they drop down 100 meters in, I think it's a 1 to 10 gradient down towards turn 10 is incredibly steep. Pictures don't do it justice. Now this run through turn 11 is probably more important than turn 12. You've got the aero to help you around turn 12. So we see Ray Oliver who's in the pits now. That means everyone has or is completing their pit cycles now. But that battle for what is third position is so close. 1/10 of a second coming past the start-finish line. Battle for the lead is just as close. KSR are all mixed up in both these battles, but Carl Sampson slightly safer than Dylan Jordan is as they come around turn 1 again.
Yeah, it's close here between first and second, third and fourth, fifth and sixth. All these nice little duo pairings we've got going on here. Ray Oliver, in the meantime, as you can see on the timing tower, has slotted back into P8 here. So unfortunately, going long in the number 99 machine has not paid off at this point in time. And, well, given the way these guys are going up front, I don't think we'll see it pay off at all here in this race. And, well, how about that? It's not the fastest lap in this race, Brad, but the fastest, the personal best for Carl Sampson. No slipstream last lap, of course, because he's leading the race once again. But he was able to get nearly or over 1/10 of a second. In fact, make that 2/10 of a second better than Damon Mulqueen on the last lap, who's sitting right in behind and has what advantage the slipstream can give him here. As check further on back as Matthew Pluck in behind Ewan Baker, fighting over P5 on the road here, and a little wide there from Pluck out of Siberia. Gets a little bit of grass for his troubles as they make their way up to Lukey Heights, and then they'll swoop down into MG here.
It's a very good battle. We unfortunately missed between these two coming into the hairpin at turn 4, but evened itself out relatively well, but they're not done yet. Reese Gardner is in the midst of a battle with Ray Oliver, who is freshly out of the pits. Reese Gardner on the warmer tyres in what some would argue would probably be the faster car, and this slipstream down the main straight is going to be very crucial for him. He's right up behind that bumper. He pulls away early, goes for the outside of turn 1, which is smart if he can hold it there, because he'll have the inside of turn 2, a much longer, much slower corner, which is where you want to be. He's right on that curb on entry. Manages to hold around the outside. Rayola gives him just enough room and no more. Managed to get that move done before even reaching turn 2.
And that is the kind of commitment we were thinking we might see some point this race, but wasn't too sure if it would be the case. And, well, there we go. It has happened now. So that's one of the moves out of the rare chest, as it were, around here at Phillip Island in a front-wheel drive car, but done very nicely there by the 94th Gardner that time around. Meanwhile, back to the front of the field, Brad in the fight for the lead is still quite nice and steady here. It's just come inside 3/10 of a second now as they make their way up the hill into Lukey Heights and MG once again. And maybe just a bit of a lull period for Mulqueen. Make sure he's not overworking the tyres, because he is now on his 10th lap of the stint. Dylan Jordan, the only driver to be anywhere near him on length in this race, whereas Sampson has got about 5 laps advantage when it comes to tyre stint length. So Mulqueen maybe keeping that one in mind here, making sure he's not overworking the car now that he's up the rear bumper of Sampson. Just be here for a bit, see if he can get a bit of a read on what Sampson's doing, and then make the play as late as he thinks he can get away with it, whilst still having something left in the car. He'll swing across to the outside or turn 1, but that's just going to be opening the entry up as they sweep through this corner. Just on 200 kph, I see for your third place man, Dylan Jordan, and I presume for your race leaders it's about the same through turn 1, and then long run through the southern loop here at turn 2.
Yeah, and as you say, Damon Mulqueen has just settled down. He goes 2/10 quicker than Carl Sampson that lap, so he's slowly starting to heat up. He's actually got a run down the outside. I'm not sure what's happening to Carl Sampson, but Damon Mulqueen's back on the charge already, and I reckon this could be a move down into the hairpin.
Well, let's see what happens this time out of Siberia. Mulqueen a little tighter on the corner exit, and as a result starts chipping away at the gap here on the timing tower. Brings it down from just over 3/10 to 2.5. Just get to about 2/10, under 2/10 as they make the rise up Lukey Heights, then backs out a fraction as they come up and over the rise, and then down into MG. You can see a nice wide entry from Mulqueen, able to get the car a bit more to the left of the road on the way in, and then a little bit of a later apex. Sampson, though, with the better run initially, but now watches that number should start swinging back in favour of Mulqueen as they swing around the final turn, keeping the foot nice and flat here in these cars. And then the speed builds its way up to the maximum here at Phillip Island down that front stretch. And, well, it's slow but steady progress from Mulqueen. He's closing just as we get to the end of the straight here, just on a 10th as they approach turn 1. In fact, he's going to swing for the outside here, Brad, at turn 1. He's going to do what we saw from Reese Gardner just a lap and a half ago, and up to the inside of the southern loop. Sampson, though, will squeeze him narrow here through turn 2. Question is, who's going to be the one to hang on around the outside of the corner? Sampson tries, but he's in the grass. Mulqueen to the lead, and the bump for that pass, I think, helped make that happen. But it is very tight there as they, getting that job done. And unfortunately for Sampson, he's going to drop down into P4 as a result of that all.
Classic touring cars, bump and run. Wasn't too much of a bump and run, just a bit of door banging with exasperated neck coat a little bit. We'll get the replay thanks to VRS again. We see the nice wide shot there around the outside. Sampson gave him just enough room, went deeper into the corner. Mulqueen with a bit of understeer came out just a little nudge. It didn't take much, and as soon as that front right tyre was in the car, it was in the grass, it was all over, and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, unfortunately there you can see as they meet in the middle. Mulqueen just trying to make a bit of a double apex of the situation. Sampson trying to force him down to the curb all the way around the turn. So yeah, I think unfortunately for Sampson there, that's just going to be one that gets chalked up as a racing incident there. Nothing malicious on either side. And what it does mean is he's now got his work cut out for him he should get back to P2 here without too much drama, I would think, given he's right there in line. But if he's going to somehow overhaul the gap to the race leader, that's going to be quite the adventure and a task to do, because the gap's at 2.3 seconds, and he's only got 4 laps to go here.
Yeah, this battle for second is just as hot as the battle for the lead was. 3 cars involved now. Carl Sampson's got that red mist for sure. Dylan Jordan, his teammate, is obviously going to do as much as he can to help him get past Ben Faulkner just in front. It's a Faulkner sandwich at the moment. KSR bread, I'm not sure what that would taste like, but nonetheless, 2v1 is not ideal situation, but Ben Faulkner is not going to roll over that easy. As Carl Sampson says, never mind that, I'm going to lick a stamp anyway, and it's not quite sent yet as Faulkner comes back around the inside of Siberia. Gets the open run though. It'll be better run towards Lukey Heights. He's not quite clear yet. Now he is, and that was a really good bit of driving by both drivers. I don't think we've seen any bad driving tonight, to be fair, but that was pure class by both of them.
Yeah, it's getting very competitive here between these guys as they make their way down the hill here into MG on lap number 18, and well, gonna put everything on the line to try and make something stick here. And well, as these laps tick away, the gap between Mulqueen and Dylan Jordan continues to improve in favor of Mulqueen. So it's going to have to be some absolute magic out of Sampson here, because at this point he's got 3 laps to go at the line. He'd have to somehow find a second lap here to change things up. So down into turn 1 they come. Sampson not going to fight this one into the corner this time by. And I think maybe set up for the Honda hairpin here once again. But deep from Dylan Jordan through the southern loop, Brad. That's going to give the opening surely to Sampson. Just needs to run off the turn here, and it looks okay, but gets a little bit of the gravel on the inside. That might just make him vulnerable to Ben Faulkner, who's behind him here as they make the run through Stoner towards Honda. Sampson looking inside, but I think that's more of a defensive move than an attacking move.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, that mistake was very minute, but it did cost him a bit of time. He's used all of the AstroTurf on exit as well. He's got to defend that inside now and kind of park it on the apex so Ben can't get the run, the over-under. Carl Sampson, of course, up a position. He would have loved for it to be a nice even 10. I'm sure most of us would. But even getting onto that podium and staying there is going to be a great night result given the minimal practice he's been able to do leading up to it. But a P2 would be even sweeter. Ben Faulkner looking for a podium. He nearly got there last night, but a few incidents said otherwise. But Dylan Jordan, also close to the podium last night, would love to stick where he is as well, get a nice good result. 3.4 seconds off the leader, but half a second separating the 3 drivers on screen at the moment, and this is our closest battle on track.
It is indeed, and well, actually, I think closest battle. Look at this here between Baker and Pluck down into turn 1 this time. Baker ahead of the 51 machine, and there was basically nothing in it as they came down into turn 1. But Pluck there gets off the rear bumper to make sure there isn't anything a foul there through the corner. As we check back in with this fight for P2. 2 laps to go as they make their way to the Honda hairpin this time. Faulkner not close enough to challenge Sampson, so he settles in there to 3rd place and doesn't actually go for the move that time into Honda. So timing this one as late as he can, it might seem now. Try and ensure that when he gets the pass done, there's no time for Faulkner to get the spot in addition. At least that would be my guess at this point of the race. Worth having a quick look also at Reese Gardner and Ray Oliver. They've switched places now, and well, it has been the way it is for some time, but Oliver's hanging on there in the slipstream around here and doing a decent job. It's, I believe, his first round here in the 2-litre Tourers. Been watching our coverage of the Logitech V8SCOPS Support, so you will be familiar with Ray Oliver's name and car number there, but the reason he's been making himself familiar is through his exploits in the Jetta Cup with his teammate Kyle Ridley. But out here tonight running basically, I guess, the modernised big boy in comparison to the Jetta here, as we check back in with the fight for P5, Brad.
Yeah, Pluck gets a great run out of the penultimate corners up the inside for turn 1 on Ewan Baker. They're going to go side by side anyway. Wouldn't want to take team cars out. That would be a disaster. But Ewan Baker holds it around the outside, very well driven. Matthew Pluck just having to settle back into 6th place. He's still got a few chances left to go, but they are slowly getting away from it. He did get a better run out of Southern Loop. Might have the run into the hairpin. Reese Gardner, Hayden Kirk's 1.5 seconds behind, so they do have a bit of time if they want to have a bit of a tussle. And Matthew Pluck says, yes, I do. I would like that inside line, please. It hasn't been done yet, but we've seen time and time again how easy it is to work that over-under. But Ewan Baker, not going to make it that easy. And this is going to go right down to the finish line, I think.
There it is. He just runs a little deep through the middle of Siberia there and almost gave half a door for Pluck to actually get that over-under move, as you're describing there, sorted out. But he covers off the inside for Lukey Heights as they make the ascent for one final time, as they then will have one braking zone to negotiate. And look how defensive Baker is on the way into MG. Can Pluck set up the run? He'll be on the gearbox, though, as they come through these final 2 turns. There won't be much of a slipstream to slingshot into, but he got knocked off at Lukey Heights on lap 2 by the number 52 here, Brad. But Damon Mulqueen turns it around beautifully, gets the checkered flag here in the 2-litre Tourist race 2. He'll finish the race comfortably clear. Dylan Jordan, who hangs on ahead of Carl Sampson. Faulkner there in 4th, and Ewan Baker going to hold on to round out the top 5.
That was a sensational race. It's just wrapping up now. We have Reese Gardner and Ray Oliver crossing the finish line now. Isaac Edwards, the last car on track in 10th position, coming around turn 11 now and finishing up the grid of 10 finishes with, of course, Thomas Hinz retiring pretty early on after his penalty to go and practice for the other support categories. Will cross the line now and round out this weekend's racing in the 2-litre Tourers.
Yes, let's read you through the results here. And for our convenience, it's all on one page as well. So your race winner, Damon Mulqueen, comes home there 4.4 seconds clear of Dylan Jordan at the end of that race, able to just keep extending the margin in the final laps. Carl Sampson decides not to challenge there for P2 and will settle for P3 finish in this one, ahead of Ben Faulkner there in 4th. And then it was Ewan Baker just keeping a nose ahead of Matthew Pluck there, 5th and 6th for the 2 of those guys respectively. Hayden Kirk only about a second back there, pardon me, in 7th place from his KSR stablemates. But a little bit of a lonely one there of sorts for him. Reese Gardner ends up 1.6 clear of Ray Oliver there in 8th and 9th. And then Isaac Edwards, your last finisher in the race there in 10th place. And, well, I said it was all on one page. Technically, Thomas Hinz is hiding over on the other page there, but as our one retirement and 14 laps short of the finish, that will be it for him here. As well, with the race over, everyone brings it on in nice and tidily back to the pits. It's naturally like we've got ourselves a proper in-lap and cool-down from these guys here. So we might get a chance to chat with your race winner, Mulqueen. In fact, he's going to give us the fancy diagonal pull in here. But, well, we'll wait here a second, Brad. Chance to potentially talk with the race winner, but we also have plenty of action to get through here tonight. And, well, in fact, what we will do is once you say goodbye to you, Brad, as you've been here filling in for Reese Gardner, we look forward to hopefully seeing you back in the comments box a little bit more. But, well, Reese will be here shortly, and you'll be able to get a chance to just watch the action from the broadcast perspective.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. It has been a long time between drinks, but it was awesome to be back again, and I can't wait to watch the rest of the weekend's action. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. First endurance race of the SCOPS season for this year is always a good one, and it's going to be great to watch tomorrow night. And the rest of the racing tonight, of course.
There we are, and indeed, well, I found him hiding in one of the wrong waiting room channels, but a chance to chat with the race winner from the 2-litre Tourist tonight here at Phillip Island, Damon Mulqueen in the number 42 machine. And, well, starting on the front row there, Damon had good pace, but unfortunately almost came undone there early on with contact with Thomas Hinz. But able to recover fantastically with the early pit stop and just excellent pace in that early phase as everyone stretched their initial runs in comparison.
Yeah, well, I was sort of hoping that nothing happened towards the start of the race and could just, run up the front. But as soon as that happened, the mindset went to a bit of red mist and for about a lap. And then, actually had to think about what I was going to do when I caught up to the guys ahead. The guys have given me a really good car, and we've had pace all week in the practice sessions and then in last night's race as well. So, it became a bit of a thinking game as to what to do. So I just thought, get out in clear air. I know I can set stupidly quick lap times in clear air without needing a draft. So I saw that as my best course of action, and so it's played out quite nicely somehow.
And going by the numbers, at least, yourself and Carl Sampson had the measure of everyone else by a good couple of tenths at the end of it all. Maybe Thomas Hinz could have gone with you too, but guess we won't know, given what happened for him and, the decision from the race control team to penalise him for that one there, and, he opted to retire from that one early, unfortunately. So, first of the Enduro warm-ups done, and, the two-liter tourists, they get ready to do a pretty big event when we next race at Imola. 250k solo endurance will be the feature of the Saturday night racing for the SCOPS Supports when we head to Imola in a couple of weeks' time. Any thoughts on what that might look like for you there, Damon?
Well, I know I'll be doing the 2-liter Tourer race. I'm not quite sure what else is on the card, so depending on what is on, if Flat Sixes are on, it could be a busy night. It'll be an interesting. I haven't really driven these outside of probably about 40-45 minute races, so it's going to be a new experience. Going to have to try and figure out something with the setup to go a bit further in distance and look after the front tyres a bit better, because at the moment we're basically allowed to just hammer the living lights out of them. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I have raced these cars around Imola before, and they are a lot of fun. Very easy to make mistakes though as well. So just quickly, I just want to throw a quick apology to Carl. I don't know if I've done anything wrong, and now we bump at the southern loop. But I thought, he was deciding to defend, and I had a good run on the front straight, and somehow held it around the outside of turn 1, which was scary. I'm going to be perfectly honest.
Yes, that is very true. It was definitely one of the more ambitious moves we saw tonight, and the good news in the sense is that the Flat Sixes will be racing Imola, but it will be on the Friday night, which means it's a bit detached from the 2-liter Tourers, which means you will be able to focus come Saturday night for that PCR race. But before we let you go, Damon, who would you like to thank tonight for your result?
Well, I've honestly just got to thank the guys at Synergy Sim Racing. They've constantly given me really good cars of late. Really looking forward to seeing what we can do for the rest of the season here in the 2 litres and in the Flat Sixes. All the sponsors on the car, the guys at OSR that run the events, and you guys for doing the awesome broadcasts.
Well, thank you very much there, Damon, and well done once again on another race win for you here in the 2-liter Tourer category.
Cheers, fellas.
Well, now what we'll do is take a short break here at SimSpeed TV. The action continues from Phillip Island up next. The V8s will be on screen shortly.
What does it take to win? Is it something you're born with? Is it the grind? Every day. Gear up. Do battle. For the 10,000th time. Or is it pushing to your absolute limits? To be faster. Always faster. Insanely precise. Totally free and at one with the game. Or maybe it's just getting to that place where nothing else matters. Nothing in the way of winning.
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction, he's got everything outside both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my god! Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled.
Six very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?
Welcome back to the coverage here from the second day of the Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series schedule, reporting the Too Easy Finance Phillip Island 500, the Virtual Racing School V8SCOPS 2022. My name is Daniel Yeaman, and now joining me in the commentary box for the rest of this evening's action, Reese Gardner, after his racing in the 2-litre Tourers. Good to be back with you here tonight, Reese, and well, it's time to move from basically about the complete opposite of the 2-litre Tourer. Double the engine power, send the drive to the rear end, and call it some V8 action is what we've got on the cards here for us next.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Nice little flub there with the series name too, I have to say. It reminds me of the time Sandman called the series V8 Super Cops. So it's a bit of a funny memory here on my end. But we'll take a look at the results from last night. Aaron Gilbert and Lance Childs, an incredibly close finish between the two of them. We're very sorry that we weren't able to bring you this on SimSpeed TV, but we will bring you the second races of each category, and man, definitely looks like Lance Childs is giving Aaron Gilbert a run for his money here. Aaron, of course, the reigning series champion.
That is very true indeed, and we'll quickly check out the series standings following updated as of last night, and you can see here that James Anderson continues to lead the championship table there with a decent margin back to Simon Mazzaro, but then it is incredibly close with another win in his books. Aaron Gilbert not too far off stealing P2 as of last night, but he'll have to do it tonight if he wants to get on that. But, well, he's got plenty of guys behind him as well with Gavin Cox and Henry King, both within about 60 points there of his position. So your top 5 all certainly in with a chance of getting things well and truly mixed up here after the racing action concludes this evening.
Indeed. All 3 series running the same format this weekend in V8SCOPS Supports. Every category had a 16-lap sprint last night. Now, if you watch the 2-litre Tourers race, it's the same story for V8s. It's going to be 21 laps and a compulsory pit stop for 2 tyres from the end of lap 2 to the start of lap 18. And this is the grid. Aaron Gilbert's going to start on pole position with Lance Childs there on the front row with him. Daniel Stevens and Tim Nicol going to round out row 2. Gavin Cox and Henry King in car 2. Starting off of row 3. In 7th place, it is going to be Simon Mazzomo. James Anderson, championship leader of this season, is going to start from 8th place. Jordan Goliker and Darren Crosby round out the top 10, and then we've got Nathan Tregarthen and Kobe Marshall rounding out the top 12. Basically, the results from last night, Dan.
It is indeed straight results as we saw them from last night. So your remaining drivers, Liam Hall out of P13, shares row 7 with Cruz Mason. And then it's Nick Rodder, Thomas Riley, Mark Peck, and Troy Sipple to make up our 18 cars on the grid for this evening's race. Time hits 0. The revs rise here in the V8s for their 21-lap race around the island tonight. We get the green flag from iRacing. We're underway here at the island. Bad start from the number 2 of Henry King, and one of the best starters is going to be the 551 of Simon Mazzomo.
Wow.
Up 3 spots into P4 as we head to turn 1 and gets across to the racing line. We're 3 wide, though, in the mid-pack.
Goodness gracious. Oh, and off goes Gavin Cox. That's a pretty bad spot. He's going to spear back onto the track and in the middle of turn 2. Oh, he manages to get back on, but collected by James Anderson and then sent off is Cruz Mason. Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, the re-entry would have been okay, but unfortunately, Anderson deciding to go to the inside of the re-entering car, and that just confused things a little, I think. Rest of the field is making it through nicely. It looks like Cruz Mason has managed to get going as well. He's gotten a bit of damage on his Falcon, but other than that, things are going okay. Into Siberia then, out of Siberia as well. Darren Crosby and Nick Rodder sorting themselves out there for P8.
Indeed. I just watched Nathan Tregarthen there. We caught him on screen for a second in the 035. Massive visual effects, which implied a lock-up on the inside front tyre through Siberia there, and plenty more brake pinching down into MG. Of course, a lot of weight on the front end of these cars. Got to be very delicate with the brake balance and how you've got the car set up to be able to get the most out of it as you come down the hill. We check on board with the championship leader, James Anderson. He's still currently sitting in P10. In fact, he's already slipped back 2 spots from where he started this race, but on the back of Darren Crosby here, Reese, we head to turn 1. Meanwhile, Tregarthen and Rodder almost side by side ahead as they make their way into the turn, and Rodder's almost there. Gets his nose up the inside, but Tregarthen didn't want to give that one up. He's going to have to, though, as they approach the southern loop here on the start of lap 2.
Another position for Nick Rodder, who started way back. Oh, he gets a bit of a tap on the way through southern loop, and that's going to bring Tregarthen back alongside him, but Rodder's going to have the inside line for the Honda hairpin and gets it done. Tregarthen backing out a little bit, lets Darren Crosby alongside, and Crosby might get 2 for 1 here if he doesn't. Oh, okay. Slight contact with Rodder on the exit, but Tregarthen certainly getting a bit of a hurry up there from the likes of Henry King and James Anderson. Look at the amount of lockups that are happening into Siberia at the moment. I was about to say shout out to Nick Rodder because he has gained 8 positions off the start. That is simply incredible. One of the best starts I've seen.
It is one incredible bit of movement forward from the number 36 tonight as we're on board again looking at the back of Anderson's car, as we also got the webcam feed from him. But I'm just seeing ahead of this, Rodder locking up through MG. He's made him deep through the corner here, Reese and Anderson. Well, that is eyes wide open and ready to strike here into turn 1 potentially as we jump on board with Rodder looking forward here to a bit of clean air. But then Anderson's perspective, another good run through the final turn, able to get that car rotated in a little bit nicer, looking for the inside, but Rodder's not going to give him an open entry to turn 1. He swings out late to try and maximise his run through the corner. And almost front to rear contact as Rodder thinking about maybe trying to seal the deal. But again, this time Anderson locking up with a bit of a pinch through Southern Loop. But at the same time, so did Rodder. A lot of drivers struggling with getting the car pulled up and rotated through the double apex of the turn here. But move made for Anderson. And one of those gains retracted for Rodder here. But still up 7 from where he started this one as they make their way down through the Honda hairpin.
He had a huge slide on the exit of Southern Loop, did Nick Rodder, but we'll jump further forward just a bit to the MFR entry of Daniel Stevens. He's chasing down Aaron Gilbert here for 2nd place, and Dan Stevens has been a pretty prolific competitor in SCOPS Supports this year, not only racing the V8s category, but he's also doing the Jetta Cup as well a lot of the time, and he was the Support Series Trucking Legends champion of last season, so certainly has some form to back himself up. But we shall see how Stevens decides to go here with a mandatory pit stop coming up. The pit window has, of course, opened. It opened about a lap ago at the end of lap 2. So any time now, drivers will be able to pit. But the question is, when do you?
Yeah, well, the theory would be you take it about halfway through. Unfortunately, the 3.25 there of Kobe Marshall looking a little bit worse for wear and definitely off pace. We'll check it out on the replay from Virtual Racing School as he's unfortunately found the fence, and then we need to stay on the replay and go to the 70 of James Anderson. Massive drama at the exit of the Southern Loop, Reese. But here's what happened quickly to Marshall. Unfortunately, gets wheels in the dirt and the car rotates. Maybe a bit of a helping hand there from one of the Alpha Venturi cars. Unfortunately, that might have been Thomas Riley in the 888 machine. But then, let's have a look here. Anderson is now in a world of hurt.
Yeah, and this is how it happened. He just went for a big slide on the exit of Southern Loop, and unfortunately, Crosby and Rodder just came right into him.
And the telltale smoke from the motor. Unfortunately, Anderson's race is basically done, and the fact that he's only on lap 4 of the race means he will not score points tonight. As you can see, unfortunately, Rodder, that damage to the left front of the car will be more or less what has done the motor in here for him. As we go back to live pictures, and Mark Peck, the last man to pass him by, as, oh dear, more trouble out there for the number 66 of Darren Crosby after making contact with the rear of Anderson. His car also definitely hurting, despite not looking too bad here. But meanwhile, racing action continues. Troy Sipple getting up the inside of Tregarthen into turn 1. Tregarthen's going to try and hold it, Reese, but no, he's unable to maintain the spot there. And Anderson's not even going to get back to the pit lane. He's stuck at the outside of MG here. We might just get a safety car in the end of all this.
Yeah, certainly, and that is a very precarious spot. That is right off the edge of the racetrack. He tried to continue back to the lane, but he won't be able to. And it looks like Crosby has decided to jump into the pits. He's got some damage to repair. Kobe Marshall has come in. We've also got Gavin Cox that's been in there for a while. Is the safety car ready? It looks like it is, looking at the timing screen. We might be waiting on an official call here. There it is.
The safety car was called, just as we were talking about the pit strategy there, as Gavin Cox sneaks out just in time, but unfortunately for the 555, he is 3 laps down. And, yep, confirmation there from the number 2 of Henry King, who one of the series organisers here for the supports program as a whole, but also getting out on track in the V8s as well. With that safety car call, Gilbert, Stevens, Mazzomo, Nickel, Gallagher, they're all coming into the lane here, and King as well. But your race leader, Lance Childs, has not come into the lane. This now surely puts him at a disadvantage, as everyone will get this service done nice and, well, basically free here under the yellow. And, well, being stuck out on track will hurt him here, as it is everyone except for, well, Cruz Mason's the next driver who will, pardon me, Nathan Tregarthen stayed out. Cruz Mason, the third car, will opt to not pit here under the yellow.
Looks like Mark Peck has stayed out as well. He's going to vault on past these guys as the safety car picks up Lance Childs on the way into Honda hairpin.
This is an interesting strategy call here, Reese, because sure, we're in the first quarter of the race, or just ticked over it to be precise. That will mean that you will have to look after the car a little bit in the final phase of the action here tonight, but it does mean that you give away a free pit stop, and you're then really hoping that the tyre degradation is going to be huge.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's a bit of a gamble that Childs, Tregarthen, Mason, and Peck are playing, and not only that, the field is going to get bunched up by the safety car. So they'll have drivers on 6-lap fresher tyres, 7 or 8-lap fresher tyres by the time the safety car comes in, basically bearing down on them. So if they decide, well, I mean, really the right time to pit was as the safety car was called, right when everyone else was coming in, because then you wouldn't lose any positions if you came in from the front. But as things stand now, the safety car's backing up the pack. If any of those guys decide to pit now, they are just going to lose a ton of track position.
Yes, they are. Unfortunately, the number 70 of James Anderson still parked there on the road. Meanwhile, trouble for Troy Sipple under the yellow. Actually got up on the curve of Honda hairpin, actually spun himself, and as a result, now lost a handful of spots, and probably burned off a good chunk of the tyres. Looks like Jordan Gallagher might be coming. No, pardon me, Gallagher having a moment on his connection. Lance Charles does now come to the pits, but this is bad for him. Cruz Mason will follow in, but the two of them will now plummet to the rear of the group. The only other driver, Tregarthen, has staying up, will assume the race lead. And likewise, Mark Peck is staying out for now. So, some interesting decisions here from a couple of these guys, as they would have had enough time to come into the pits there with the call for the yellow. And just waiting now to see where those two end up, because with the pit exit close call, they have to wait here at the end of the lane, and it will be 11th and 12th for Childs and Mason when they return to the queue.
Indeed it will. So, where do we go from here? 035, Nathan Tregarthen carrying damage to his car. Not exactly an optimal state to be in for Nathan, and he'll be leading these guys away, presumably at the end of this lap. So
it will be, yep.
Let's see then what Aaron Gilbert and Daniel Stevens can do. They are now fighting for the effective race lead once Tregarthen comes into the pits, and at this point he's going to have to do it under green flag conditions. So the battle does change. Lance Childs has come out in 11th place. Cruz Mason has come out in 12th. And, well, a third of the race just about gone. They're not going to have a very long time to catch up and try to work their way through all the drivers in the top 10.
Massive brake lock for Childs on the outlap through the southern loop.
Oh.
Bit unnecessary there, because you can see the safety car is very steadily cruising its way down into Honda hairpin. Just rushing it was the number 33 there, and it's the kind of unnecessary strain and damage to the tyres that you don't need to be doing on a safety car lap here. We'll have a quick look at that there on the replay from Virtual Racing School, and just need to back it up a fraction more, unfortunately, to catch it on the way through the middle of the southern loop here. There we go. So watch this here from the front left tyre.
Oh, goodness. Oh, he almost went straight off into the gravel, didn't he? That's very unfortunate. Inside tyre unloaded as you're going up over the crest. So that front left is not going to be singing Lance Childs' praises at the moment.
Right, so safety car moving away from the field back to the pits here. And it will now be, well, very soon be in the hands of Tregarthen to set up the restart here. And it's going to be interesting to see how he plays this one, because, well, yeah, he's one of two who has not pitted in this race. So that will be crucial as to how the drivers behind get through here. And crucially, Aaron Gilbert now on the hot seat, but has Dan Stevens for company here as they come off of MG and through the final two turns. Tregarthen is gone. Safety car called in the pits. We're back to green. It was a pretty aggressive jump, though, from Tregarthen. As Mark Peck dives for the lane, he gets himself out of the queue here on the restart.
Nathan Tregarthen didn't have that luxury. He's decided to go as early as he possibly can and work his way through as the green flag flies. So top three have broken away from the rest of the field, but look at this fight that's on here. Henry King trying to fend off the likes of Thomas Riley. They got Jordan Goliker with them as well. Tim Nicol just up ahead. This pack stretches to Simon Mazzomo in car 551. And wow, King is really trying to line him up here, isn't he? As there goes Aaron Gilbert into the lead of the race. Tregarthen on the brakes a bit early into Honda, lets him go. Now, Daniel Stevens might find this a little bit frustrating because this is one car that he has to work his way past if he wants to keep trying to challenge Nathan Tregarthen for the lead. But this battle for fourth is really going off.
It is indeed, as we check in with them here proper. Zomo leads the train, but yeah, Nicol, King and Goliger all in behind. Meanwhile, the race leader is through on Tregarthen here within half a lap. Dan Stevens needs to get on through as well to take the fight to Gilbert here up the inside of MG. He tries. Tregarthen, he doesn't have anything in response, keeps it nice and open there as they come on through the turn and head on back out to run to the end of the lap here to complete number 8 of 21. And the wobble there from the 23 of Tim Nicol. Henry King now poised in position to take that spot away at the end of the straight. And well, with that pass on Tregarthen and the timing of the positioning for Stevens, Gilbert is clear at the front of the field. Henry King, his teammate, up the inside at turn 1 on Nicol, who's not going to fight it this time by at least. He will much rather slide on in as meanwhile further on back Troy Sipple and Cruz Mason. Bit of a hip check there through turn 1, Reese. And it's going to be side by side through the southern loop. See who can hang on. If Mason's got enough on the outside, having to tap the brakes a couple of times, he will not be able to get that pass done.
Outside of southern loop is almost impossible to pull off no matter what car you're in. The crest and the fact that there's no rubber on the outside means that you have to try for a move here at Honda, and that's what Mason's doing. Will he be able to get past is the question. Looks like Sipple's held on to the inside line for Siberia. We've got, I believe that's Gavin Cox, lapped car with them for good company. Goodness gracious, Cruz Mason is not having a good time here trying to get by Troy Sipple, and I think he'll be ruining the decision not to pit with everyone else at this stage.
Yeah, it would seem to be the case because Lance Childs, having already pitted, has checked out up the road. Meanwhile, on this particular lap here, gap has closed down for the race lead. Dan Stevens has definitely got something under the bonnet of the number 3 machine so far. He's closed the gap in half as they round the front, run to the front stretches. Tregarthen now in P3, but he's got the trainer car starting with Simon Mazzomo, who want that spot off him here.
Henry King picking up some slipstream behind as well. Mazzomo gets the move done before they get to the turn-in point for turn 1. A bit further back, 888 Thomas Riley trying to chase down Lance Childs, who jumped into the pits. Childs has just got through on Thomas Riley. And there goes Cruz Mason, this time up the inside of Troy Sipple. So the drivers that pitted, that waited to pit under the safety car, making moves. But man, there's just stuff going on all around this racetrack. Henry King around the outside of Nathan Tregarthen, a little bit of contact on the way through. And man, Mason is still not done with Sipple.
Oh, more like Sipple's not done with Mason just yet by the look of that there. Almost turned into the bumper on the exit of Honda hairpin there, but finally allows Mason to clear Sipple by a car length as they come up into Siberia. And now the road is open ahead for the 43 machine as he would like to close down the guys ahead. First man on the road for him will be Thomas Riley as we check back in with that group of cars up ahead. And look at them here, all packed up, currently behind Henry King at the moment, but Tregarthen still running in this group here. The bottleneck of the train, it seems so far. He's not yet come to the pits and still not coming to the pits as they make their way around the final turn here. But, well, that's a nice line for Tim Nicol. And look how much speed he can carry Reese round that corner in comparison.
That is amazing. I mean, you know, last turn at Phillip Island isn't always considered a traction corner, but it is in these cars. And side by side behind Tregarthen, Jordan Goliker gets sent off. Coming into Southern Loop, he does get back on. and he manages to keep it on the racetrack as well. That was very close between himself and Lance Childs. We'll get it on the replay here. Double check what went on here. So, number 23 gets by Tregarthen, but I think, was there contact? Oh, I don't know. It just seems that Childs was having trouble picking his turn-in point because the cars were right in front of him.
I don't think that's so much Childs as that's Tregarthen's car running wide. Gallagher with superior grip. I think, let's just confirm this angle here on
yes,
board
Gallagher.
with Tregarthen
My
through
apologies.
turn 1. And you can see, Tregarthen locking the inside front. Childs and Gallagher behind. Better run through the corner. And Gallagher, unfortunately, left nowhere to go but to the grass. Thankfully, as you said, though, able to hang on to it and recover as they made their way into turn 2 there. Meanwhile, back on the live pitches, back with your race leaders. The gap continuing to close here, it seems, at the front of the field. I mean, I say that, and better run, it seems, out of MG initially, at least, for Aaron Gilbert. Sees that gap increase, but that's the limit, and then some from Dan Stevens. Keeps it just on the line there. A bit of dirt to go with it for good measure. And, well, brings the gap back inside 7/10 by the end of the front stretch. And back and forth, it seems, between your top 2 for now.
Yeah, I said Lance Childs when I meant Jordan Gallagher. My apologies. Speaking of Gallagher, there he goes on Tregarthen, coming through into turn 1. Meanwhile, Henry King and Simon Mazzomo. This is the battle for third. King puts the power down nicely out of Southern Loop, and we'll see what they can do coming into the Honda hairpin. Starts to line him up. Mazzomo gets on the brakes a little earlier. Tries to just about pinch Henry King to the inside. And they're still side by side on the exit. Mazzomo's going to try and defend this. Up the inside of Siberia, goes a bit deep. Will King be able to draw through on the exit? Catches a bit of the dirt on the inside. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean that he's going to get a very good run out of the corner. So they will live to fight another day. But I heard a vocalization from you just earlier, Dan. Apparently something happened that is worth a replay.
Yep, unfortunately, Cruz Mason has found out what not to do at the Southern Loop as we check out what happened to him here on the replay from Virtual Racing School. The unfortunately lapped down car of Gavin Cox in behind here with good pace into turn 1. Opts not to go for it and leave that to Mason here. So unfortunately, up into turn 2 we come, and that's wide, that's locked.
That's straight off the track. Goodness me. Well, Mason fortunately keeping it out of the tyre bundles, but still, that is an awful lot of lost time for car 43. It
was indeed. As we go back to the live pitches and check back in with the fight for P3, as that's a big lock this time from Mazzomo in the 551. He does keep it, gathers it up, well, keeps it together, I should say, on the exit of the turn. Henry King was looking good through the mid-phase, but not as good on the exit and drive here, it seems. He's close enough for a look up the inside. Mazzomo will not defend that one much, but he does go a bit narrow. Meanwhile, behind,
whoa!
Lance Childs deep under brakes on the inside of Tim Nicol. Bit of a hip and shoulder on the way through to seal the deal. He's up into P5 to try and build a recovery here.
Whew. Man, Lance Childs, he's really on fire here. I mean, you know, pitting from the lead under the safety car after everyone else had already completed their stop. It looked like he wouldn't be a contender for a top 5 or even a podium, but it looks like that's where he's going at the moment, especially considering Henry King has still not made his way past Simon Mazzomo. These guys are continuing to slow each other up a little bit. With the amount of lockups we've seen from both of them, it's just incredible that those tyres haven't shredded themselves yet. Either way, Lance Childs is taking good advantage of this, and he's slowly creeping up on them, as you can see.
Oh, Lance, careful. That's the grass on the exit of the final turn.
I saw that in the background. Jesus.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, I made a little another exclamation of noise because Tim Nicol nearly ran into the rear of him in MG. Meanwhile, side by side at turn 1. He hangs on to it. Although he doesn't hang on to it. Childs is now for
Childs
the
doesn't hang on to it. Goodness gracious.
Okay, so now we need to queue up at least a replay for that one there.
A
Okay,
replay,
not going to
it's
replay yet
still
because
going.
look at this for the race lead here down a Honda hairpin. Dan Stevens continuing to apply the blowtorch now to the rear of Aaron Gilbert's Mustang. Well, Mustang Falcon. It's a Falcon.
Yes.
Oh, that's ambitious.
Okay, Daniel. Probably a little bit late into Siberia. but he's hooking up the exit nicely. This could continue. Stevens has been lurking in the background for Aaron Gilbert all race long, and he is putting the pressure on. Next overtaking spot is MG. If he can get the run out of Lukey Heights, he can dive up the inside, but that'll leave him open to an attack on the start-finish stretch. It looks like he is having a little bit of a look. Is Stevens. Lock up from Gilbert. Oh, this could get very spicy on the way into turn 1.
Let's see here who gets the better run through turns 11 and 12. The exit from MG wasn't looking too good for Gilbert there, but slightly wider entry to the final turn. That looks to pay off for him here as Stevens in behind, just a little bit narrow, I should say, on the entry to what he might prefer. He's closing once again in the toe at the end of the straight, but not going to be there as he backs it down into 5th through turn 1 he goes. And do we have a moment of peace? Well, not really, because Tim Nichols now on the bumper of Mazomo, who's been unable to stay with Henry King after that whole palaver last time around through turn 1 for these cars. And your race lead looking nice and close once again as they head to Honda Hairpin, 7 seconds up the road from P3. And look at that there from Stevens, committing to the inside, trying to maybe throw something there for Gilbert, but resolute defense from the number 1 in front here. As we're going to get on the Virtual Racing School replay here, Reese, and have a look at what unfolded on that last lap.
Yeah, so 2 separate incidents there as Lance Childs goes off into the grass. Contact between King and Mazomo. King was trying to line up Mazomo around the outside, but maybe potentially squeezed Mazomo a little. At the same time, it looked like Mazomo was potentially overshooting the inside of the corner a little. That might be considered a racing incident, especially considering that Mazomo backed off and did not complete the pass, and Henry King recovered it. So what on earth happened to Lance Childs? He tried to go through on the
hang on to the spot.
Yeah, trying to hang on to the spot from Tim Nicol, and unfortunately it just didn't work out for him. Outside line through turn 1, not always the best.
And then while that had all unfolded, this is then what we stayed live with, as they then, leaders came down out of Honda Hairpin. So it was complete bonkers here. We're going to go back to live pictures because it's on once again. 3/10 the gap on the exit at the Southern Loop, Reese. It's not quite enough, it seems, for Dan Stevens at the moment, but he's close. If he could fire one under brakes here if he wants to, perhaps, he will half show the nose. He's there. He's almost there. Not going to be enough, though, but it's a force and error out of Gilbert, having to run deep to avoid contact. It forces Gilbert deep. Not enough, though, to make something at Siberia, which is ambitious enough already in the best of circumstances.
Yeah, indeed. Well, plenty of long flat-out sections here at Phillip Island, and look at Stevens. He's really picking up the pace there at the end of these full-throttle sections going through Hayshed. Is he brave enough to try it into MG again? No, but he does have another look, forces Aaron Gilbert to go middle of the road and compromise his own line. And it's the same story as it was on the last lap. We'll be coming up to 5 to go when they cross the line next. And, wow, what an interesting race it has been so far. We've had differing strategies. We've had tyres going off into the grass, as Daniel Stevens just did. And we've had excellent attempts at passes being made, but it looks like Stevens might be a bit too far back to get one of those done for a couple of laps. Meanwhile, Simon Mazomo holds on to 4th place, but Tim Nicol is starting to round him up.
Well, if he does narrow lines into turn 1, that's probably a bit counterintuitive if he's not alongside here as we check out the webcam footage here of Mazomo as he navigates the southern loop this time. But you can see in behind him, Nicol, Gallagher and Childs all lining up and looking pretty packed up there as a result of it all. So come on, drive faster, Mez. You've got pressure.
Yeah, pressure from 3 cars, and it might be too soon, because have a look at Lance Childs here, who's trying up the inside of Jordan Gallagher. These two almost together before, and oh, that's a good defense there from Gallagher. They just avoid making too heavy contact, but man, a little bit of rubbing involved. But rubbing, as they say, is racing. And Childs is going to have a couple more chances to try and get by him in future. Meanwhile, Nicol up ahead. Oh, almost try and have a look at Mizomo. Almost a look there for Childs. Gallagher locks up on the exit of MG, but doesn't offer a chance for Childs to get through.
Yeah, it's close, but not quite there just yet as we keep watching these guys here. Just look at the timing tower. The gap between your top two at the front of the field has reopened. Is that a lapped car shadow I saw in there somewhere? There is, so that may explain why all of a sudden Dan Stevens has gone from being 3/10 off to, well, it was just over a second. It seems to have closed back down a bit now, but focusing on the fight for fourth as Nickel into the back of Mizomo, a lock from Mizomo through the southern loop. Blows himself up more than I think he would normally do so. Takes a hit to the rear for his troubles. And they keep at it once again. These four barely separable, but Lance Childs at the back of the group. He wants on through. This time he's well up the inside of Gallagher, I think, and he's ahead at the apex, but Gallagher's still there around the outside in the background is shot. He'll take the apex for Siberia here. Childs will have to surely tuck back in and try again later.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, it's back to half a second for the race lead. Aaron Gilbert still holding on to it from Daniel Stevens, but now that they've cleared the lapped car of Gavin Cox, they are free to race again as Lance Childs goes off the circuit in a major way at Lukey Heights. What on earth happened there? It's side by side between Mizomo and Nickel for fourth, meanwhile. But a huge mistake there from Lance Childs. I don't know if that was a hardware failure or whether it was from frustration from his attempts to pass Jordan Gallagher or I don't know what's going on at all. But either way, we've still got battles to sort out here with now 3 laps to go. Will Mizomo be able to protect fourth place from Tim Nickel? Into turn 1 they come. Mizomo is just ahead, and he's not going to give Nickel any room to try and get it done up the inside of Southern Loop.
Yeah, the replay didn't sound too good as we check out Lance Childs. I think go on board, it's probably the most damning evidence angle. And, well, a little wide here on the entry to Lukey Heights, and then flicks the steering right. And I heard revs at 100% before we get there as we check it out on board here. Unfortunately, can't hear the audio from the production feed, but you'll see here up the hill, Childs will understeer. Nah. Unless that's the rear going on him. I don't think it was from my initial inspection, well, my initial analysis at the moment. And, well, Childs escaped to the pits. And, well, I'll worry about Childs later because here we go. It's on for the lead.
Hello, Daniel Stevens. Good morning, sunshine.
Wow, we're around the outside of the penultimate turn. You don't see that often at Phillip Island. We've got 2 laps to go now as a result of this. And somehow, that moment there for Gilbert, it's not much of a spin because, well, I was going to say, if it was a spin, the gap to the guys behind should have decreased monumentally, but it hasn't. They're still where they were roughly, so just a massive lockup and wobble into MG there for your former race leader now. And we'll check it out on the replay from Virtual Racing School. Well, okay, it's more or less a spin, I guess, but I guess the camber of the corner helps him. And then, yeah, Dan's just like, you know what? I don't need no inside line. I can do it around the outside. The man's apparently driving the wheels off the car, but also preserving the tyres to have confidence and grip to just be like, yep, it's banked. It's a slightly off camber corner out here, but I'm good.
That he is, and was able to get it done around the outside of the penultimate corner on Aaron Gilbert, and he now leads by 0.4 of a second. It's not over for fourth, though. Simon Mizomo has been putting on an incredible defensive drive here versus Tim Nickel, and Jordan Gallagher is still in the midst of all of this. Got a lap car for company as well, but the battle is certainly between the 551 and the 23, and Nickel isn't up for going up the inside of MG. He's going to try up the inside of turn 1, I believe. That seems to be his favourite spot to try it.
Yeah, but a little deep through MG, locked up, then a little tight through turn 11. Gives Mizomo breathing room, but he's aggressive on the exit through 12. actually gets the gap back. He's just leaning on his car so hard as they come across the start finish line to start the final lap of the race. It's going to force Mazzomo to defend into turn 1. He gets the car back across to open the entry, but Nichol's almost there. Nichol's almost there. Nichol's in the grass.
And he manages to get back onto the racetrack, but then almost slides off.
No.
Oh, hello. Bump from Jordan Goliker, almost putting paid to that. But either way, Stevens a little bit deep into the Honda hairpin. He's still trying to defend here from Aaron Gilbert, who's gotten a lot of pace back. He wants this win back here, Dan. Let's see what goes on for your namesake in the car.
Here we go. Through Siberia and the hay shed we go. Nose to tail for your top 2 to end the racing action here for the V8s at Phillip Island. Lukey Heights, 1 brake zone left here on this race as they come up and over the crest. Stevens is wide, but that'll give him the defensive line into MG. Can he get it pulled up to cover off Gilbert? Oh, massive punt into the rear from Gilbert here. It's not enough to shake the number 3 loose, though. As they come around the penultimate turn, it's going to be a drag race to the line. If Gilbert's got something here through turn 12 to make something work before the line, but no, he does not. Dan Stevens is going to hang on to that one there, and fist pumps well deserved for the number 3. He takes the checkered flag here in race number 2 for the V8s at Phillip Island.
Daniel Stevens finally taking another victory here in the V8s category. Fantastic performance there. And I think a very astute defense coming into MG, because you note that he exited narrow. He knew that Gilbert would try to exit narrow to try and get the run on him through the final corner with the crossover. So what he did was he parked it on the apex. He prevented Gilbert from trying to get through.
It was the textbook defense for the last lap attempt, and, well, takes a punt for his troubles in the rear, but that'll be no worries for him there. So well-deserved, and, well, after having all that pace there after the safety car restart, it took an error, but still a bit of a forcing an error out of your competitor is certainly a good way to get the job done. So here are the results as they came across the line. 0.3 of a second, almost 0.4 the gap there between Stevens and Gilbert for your top 2. Henry King walks away there to a somewhat lonely P3 at the end of it all there. Reese ahead of Mazzomo and Tim Nicol, who were back and forth there, but that last lap mistake of sorts from Nicol sees him a little adrift, with Jordan Goliker slotting back in behind there for P6 in the number 99 machine after a couple of attempts there on the final lap. Troy Sipple next across the line there in P7 with Cruz Mason after some potential from the 43, unfortunately going awry there in P8. Thomas Riley next across the line in P9. Nathan Tregarthen, after opting for an alternate strategy, will hang on to 10th place at the end of that race.
Mark Peck is the last driver to finish on the lead lap. He was the only one of the drivers who pitted under the second safety car lap to actually get somewhat of a profit out of it, aside from Jordan Goliker. Meanwhile, Gavin Cox finishes a lap down. Darren Crosby, unfortunately, 2 laps down, getting damage repaired. Kobe Marshall did not have a great time. Neither did Lance Childs, Nick Rodder, or James Anderson, all involved in incidents that resulted in heavy damage to their cars. And Liam Hall did not take to the start here, unfortunately. So that's going to wrap things up in terms of racing. But Daniel Stevens still very busy here, celebrating his victory on the start-finish area here at Phillip Island, a place that is hallowed ground for a lot of people. Since the mid-1950s, this circuit has been operating, and the start-finish line has barely changed at all.
A classic venue, to be sure. As, well, Stevens wrapped things up there, I think, by the looks of things. And, well, that means we'll wrap things up here for the V8 as it stands. And, well, actually, before we do, the race winner has indeed arrived in the commentary box. And, well, we'll drag him up here for a quick chat. And, well, a lot of pressure there on Aaron Gilbert towards the end part of the race. You made a beautiful pass there on the exit of MG, Dan Stevens, and then able to hang on for the race win here tonight. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's been a long time coming. Henry and Aaron, the guys that we set our benchmark to, and every week we do our best to get them, and they just get away from us every single time. But I think we closed that gap tonight, man. I'm really, really happy.
Yeah, definitely. How much did the safety car tonight coming out a little bit early perhaps change any plans to tyre strategy for you here in this race?
No, I was actually going to pit early tonight. I was going to do the undercut, so my pit stop was 2 laps out anyway, so I took it then. So it worked in quite well for me.
Yeah, that's a good point to make. The undercuts in these cars have often been pretty strong for the most part. It seems, no matter where we see them racing, and I guess, yeah, tonight looks like it was certainly what it could have been the case. But, well, when everyone comes into the pits like that, how much does that sort of change the way you go about the race, knowing that sort of everyone's on that same strategy as you there?
Pretty much when I saw Aaron go in, it was silly not to go in. And when I saw Tim didn't go in, I thought, well, what's he doing? Does he know something that I don't know? But whatever Aaron was going to do, I was going to follow anyway. And like I said, my pit stop was 2 laps out, so I was silly not to come in. But I'm just stoked to get a win for a change.
Yeah, it's certainly been one that, as you said, long time coming, and yeah, well deserved tonight for sure. We'll see the series back out on track when we head to Imola in a couple of weeks' time. It'll be short, fast, furious sprint racing on a Friday night for the V8s. Any thoughts about the combination there and what you might hope to get from that one there?
Yes, the last time I'd raced at Imola in the V8s was way back as in this car actually, and it was a 650 for another league. So it'd be interesting to see what happens when I go back there.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing then what it does or can deliver for you. Before we let you go, who do you want to thank tonight for the result?
You guys, of course, for the broadcast. And Jay, hope he's feeling better tonight. Middle Finger Racing, WP Concretine, Mad Ass Designs, and Aussie Signs and Designs, and Snap-on Tools.
Thank you very much there, and I'm sure Jay will be happy to say doing a little bit better today. Your race winner for the V8s, Dan Stevens, here tonight on Saturday. Well, 2 down and 1 to go, Reese, and it feels like the action doesn't stop wherever we look. And well, if that's something we can see there in the V8s, I think what we've got up next might just deliver even more. Stick with us here at SimSpeed TV. We'll take a short break, and we'll return with the flat sixes to round out this evening's action from Phillip Island.
This is iRacing, the world.
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
What does it take to win? Is it something you're born with? Is it the grind? Every day. Gear up. Do battle. For the 10,000th time. Or is it pushing to your absolute limits? To be faster. Always faster. Insanely precise. Totally free and at one with the game. Or maybe it's just getting to that place where nothing else matters. Nothing in the way of winning.
Fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction, he's got everything else. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
We're back to continue our coverage of the second night of action for the Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series here in 2022 as part of the Virtual Racing School V8SCOPS Series heading to the Too Easy Finance Phillip Island 500 this weekend. Daniel Yeaman, Reese Gardner here in the commentary box to round out the action for you this evening. Jay Kennedy on production. It's the flat sixes that we have left to get through here tonight, Reese. And, well, here's how things stood after last night's race. And, well, Cam Dancer, a regular in the Porsche, doing a nice job there and getting one of the most comfortable wins going off the timing charts so far based on the results from last night tonight. But still only 4.3 clear of Chris Coxhead. Simon Zomo taking a solid podium place there in the Porsches on top of good results in the V8s as well.
Indeed, Mazomo's having a pretty good weekend so far, and that's going to back up his current second place in the championship standings, which we take a look at now. Still quite close here between Dance and Mazomo, only 50-odd points between them, and then Thomas Hins only 9 points behind Simon Mazomo. So Hinsey didn't have as good of a race in the 2-litre Tourers tonight, but if he can continue his run in flat sixes, he might be able to get Simon Mazomo by the end here. Plenty of close standings happening here as we go through the grid.
Yeah, we will indeed. So, of course, like all the other races tonight, result grid set by the results from last night. So it means we put Cam Dance in that pole position with Chris Coxhead alongside him on that front row. Simon Mazomo and Ben Faulkner starting out of third and fourth, to Damon Mulqueen and Lindsay Hobbs down row number 3 there tonight. Liam Hall and Taylor Oakes out of 7th and 8th. Then it's Taylor Oakes and Tyson Broad for 9th and 10th. And Isaac Edwards, Daniel Cheney for 11th and 12th there. And your final drivers are Robbie Bradbury, John Courtney, Cruz Mason, and Matthew Bowler to make it a 16-car field here in the flat sixes before we get this one underway. 21 more laps of racing here from Phillip Island. Compulsory pit stop for 2 tyres for good measure to round things out tonight. It's almost time to get this one underway.
Indeed it is. Timer hits 0, the revs rise. We get ready to go for racing in the flat sixes. And it's a pretty good start there from Cameron Dance. Chris
at the back of the field.
Unfortunately not getting off to a good start. And yeah, back of the field, definitely not getting off to a great start there. A very slow start from Daniel Cheney, but they make their way down into turn 1. Dance leads. Mazomo gets up into second here. He's going to try and get past Chris Coxhead, but he's going to be on the outside coming through Southern Loop.
He's hanging on there as Mazomo, but try as you might round the outside, it's very hard to make something work. He'll slot back in to P3 here at the start of this race as we head down to Honda hairpin for the first time. Pressure from Damon Mulqueen in behind, but not able to make it stick just yet. He'll have to settle for P4 on lap number 1 here as they go 2 wide through the hairpin, 2 by 2 even through the hairpin there. Taylor Oakes, Matthew Bowles on an absolute tear through the field at the moment. He almost ran into the back of the car stricken at the race start. I think he did clip the pit wall in the number 12 machine there, but he's already up from the back row of the field, which was P16, and he's up halfway to P8 in half a lap.
That he is, and he's got Thomas Hins just up ahead of him. Still quite a gap here between Hins and Mazomo. So for the time being, it's going to be advantage Mazomo, especially considering that was a big mistake for Chris Coxhead at MG corner. Can Mazomo get him around the outside? They're going to be side by side into the final corner. I think Mazomo is going to have to yield this, or will he? He's going to try and push him all the way to the exit. It's flat out in these Porsches, and it's going to be inside line for turn 1. Will there be that change for the lead? Will it go 3 wide? Damon Mulqueen trying to find a way past these two. He very rightly backs out of it, and almost contact between Mazomo and Coxhead on the way in. Lap 1, take 2, anybody? No, Mazomo gets a little bit of a tap there in the front left, and he's going to be under attack now.
Yep, that puts him on the back foot, that's for sure, as Mulqueen's got a nose up the inside. Although, as the cars come down to Honda hairpin, of course, that will give Mazomo the inside line for the turn here. Mulqueen tries around the outside. He does keep a bit of overlap there, but Mazomo, narrower exit, drives it off the turn quite nicely there and hangs on to third places. In behind here, Lindsay Hobbs trying to hang on, but Thomas Hins is going around the outside at Siberia, try and take that spot, but this will mean a lot of work at the top of the hill for Hins. if he wants this here, because he'll have the inside for the hay shed here, and in fact, he'll lean on Hobbs up into the hay shed here, and that will allow him to seal the deal at Lukey Heights. Here comes Matt Bowler looking for the outside over the top of the crest. He's going to get there and give himself the apex for MG.
Well, there we go. Hinsey gets move done. It was also a bit of a promotion for Matthew Bowler as well, who makes his way past Hobbs. Now Hobbs is going to have to face up against Broad, as that is not a good run there between Cruz Mason and Isaac Edwards. Looks like the race on Oz Machines not having the best of times out there, as we have our first driver into the pit lane, Thomas Hins, coming in only on the end of lap 2 here. So, end of lap 2 for him, I should highlight. So, goodness gracious, looks like Hinsey is taking advantage of the pit window opening as soon as it does.
I think we saw this, at least I think the intention from Hinsey was to do this in the 2-litre Tourers and do it here tonight in the flat sixes. Seems to be the play, as well as looking for the outside at Honda hairpin is Matthew Bowler once again. This time his target is Ben Faulkner. Got a nose ahead, but if he can hang it, it's going to be a hard run around the outside here. He's still got the overlap, so no. Nose ahead on the way out. Gets the pass done by Siberia, and he's up from P16 to P5 in the space of 2.5 laps.
Man, Matthew Bowler, as you mentioned, Dan, is on an absolute charge here. Up to 6th place now after starting from the very back of the field. That is quite incredible. As we check out Taylor Oakes, part of the Orbit SimSport crew, and teammate to Cameron Dance, going a bit deep there into MG. It's a corner that I always had so much trouble trying to pull up for in the 2-litre Tourers, but he's managed to work it nicely, as there is Simon Mazzomo, unfortunately, still having some trouble here with the likes of Damon Mulqueen. He's going to try and find his way back past, or will he give him a bump draft down the front straight? Outside through turn 1 becomes inside for Southern Loop, but Mazzomo backs out of it for the time being.
Not able to get there this time by, and all that does is allow Matthew Bowler to close the margin quite significantly to those guys here. Ben Faulkner and Isaac Edwards have both come down the lane this time, and they're going to get their service complete and reset here in a moment. As up the inside goes Mazzomo at Honda. Door left wide open by Mulqueen, and also enables a door to be left open for Matthew Bowler once again. Another spot for the number 12 machine. He not quite got the job done here. Has to leave it open for Mulqueen on the inside of Siberia, but excellent drive with the cam around the outside. He's up into P number 4 now, as the rest of the field around him hasn't moved since their starting spots, and he's come absolutely carving through them all.
Has someone mixed something into Matthew Bowler's coffee this morning? Because he's driving almost on a different level to everyone else at the moment.
Up the inside, meanwhile, for Tyson Broad at MG, gets past Mulqueen there to try and follow Bowler through. Up 5 spots now for Tyson Broad from the start of the top 10 as Mulqueen peels to the pit lane. That's time enough for him here running in the group. He'll get his service done as the rest of these guys streak on down the front stretch. Your race leader has been Cam Dance. We haven't spoken much about him because, well, look at that there, 2.1 seconds clear of Coxhead in P2. Meanwhile, Mazzomo and Bowler doing some intricate draft work back and forth on the front straight there. I think I saw in the background a shot, but they stay as they are for now. But Bowler is out there. He is racing, and he is hungry to get that next spot on the road here. As we're going to go to a virtual race history replay of the race start, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And have a look at what happened there at the very back of the field here. This is what I was talking about that we just caught, or I just caught, before this race got underway.
So Bowler's been carrying a little bit of damage this whole time, is what I'm getting from that.
Yes, again, a great launch off the back of the group. I think it was Daniel Chi in front of him, unfortunately not able to get away. And so the only position that Bowler had available to him was to basically drive up the inside, but that meant finding the fence, as it turned out. As we go back to live pictures and check in here with the man who now leads the effective lead of the race, Thomas Hins, leading Mulqueen after taking an early pit stop in this race, and Liam Hall not that much further behind, the third man on the road to have pitted. And then it's Isaac Edwards and Ben Faulkner to round out the 5 cars to have pitted so far in this race. As, well, end of lap number 5. Anyone else going to take to the lane? The answer is your top 5 all stay out on track for now. and make it top 6. But Taylor Oakes out of P7. He will dive to the lane here.
All right. He's going to give up that position to Robbie Bradbury. Slows down nicely for the pit lane, and through goes Bradbury in the KFC livery machine. So that makes it 6 cars now.
Oh,
who have made at least
Mulqueen!
one trip to pit lane. Oh no, what's happened to Mulqueen?
It's an unexpected, unforced error from the 642. Losing the rear over the top of Lukey Heights and not picking it up. We'll check it out on the replay here from Virtual Racing School once more, but after such a great performance earlier on the 2-litre Tourers and not unexperienced with the Porsche Cup car here in the flat sixes, Reese, a surprising loss of rear grip has come to the pits recently, maybe just a little too much for the car at this point, although it depends on what tyres he took in this race, and maybe rears, and this would explain why he suddenly lost it up and over the rise.
Yeah, oh, that's a real shame. It's like as soon as he got on the power and at the apex of the corner, the rear end just decided to lose all available grip. That's the kind of thing that can only happen in a rear-wheel drive car without traction control. But I'm interested to see that not many drivers had that happen to them in the V8s. I think, though, this Porsche, it is a little bit easier to drive. You can get on the throttle a bit quicker, so maybe Mulqueen thought that there was going to be more grip in the rear than there ended up being.
Yes, well, we'll see here now what that does as we check out another replay here. On this time on board with Tyson Broad, coming up and over Lukey Heights, and he just flings it out to the outside of Simon Mazzomo and dives it up under brakes, and also covers off any attempt at a pass back there as more drivers onto the lane. Chris Coxhead out of second place, now already down towards P9. John Courtney will follow him in here on end of lap 6, pardon me, of 21. So getting to the end of the opening third of the race, and now almost half of the field have pitted. In fact, exactly half of the field have now pitted, and Coxhead stays ahead of Thomas Hinz, but Hinz has had some good laps here in clean air. That is a telltale sign to me that, well, all of these guys here who are racing, they're going to fall in behind Hinzy once they finally come to the pits.
Mazzomo's still trying to get back past Tyson Broad here. Obviously not done with the battle for what is now third on track. And Mazzomo, he's done a good job to hold on to these positions. He has been passed a couple of times, yes, by drivers making their way through the field, but he is not making it easy for Broad, who suffers a little bit of a lock-up on the way into MG, compromises his exit. And Simon Mazzomo could take advantage of that and slide up under the slipstream into turn 1. We'll have to wait and see once they make their way out of the final corner. And it's a nice, easy, flat-out corner in these Porsches. Maybe a slight lift, if that. Mazzomo right in the draft now, and Broad's going to protect the inside into the first turn. And Mazzomo's not far up enough to make the move. He does have a little bit of overlap, but he loses it and goes onto the grass. Oh, avoid the marshal's post, mate, and get back on track safely. Fortunately, not many cars in his vicinity, so he can get back on track without much of a problem, but that is a big hit to his race.
I was just going to say that those two are no strangers to racing each other, as they've been duking it out for almost, well, they've been duking it out for 14 rounds over on Tuesday nights with the AOG Porsche Cup. But, well, unfortunately, actually no, moment for Tyson Broad in the meantime whilst we were looking back at the guys who had come into the pits. So it was Cruz Mason who's come down the lane this time as, well, he underbrakes way too deep at Honda. Mazzomo a little distracted perhaps by all of that, but that almost nullifies what we just saw happen at turn 1.
Just about. There it is for Tyson Broad. Overshot the braking point slightly and maybe a slight lock-up on the way in too. Unfortunately, losing that position to Lindsay Hobbs, who is actually having a quite consistent race at the moment. He did have some dramas. He's taken advantage of that, and he's decided to go into the pits now. So he knows that he's well within the race with Broad and Mazzomo. Could potentially undercut them thanks to this.
Yeah, the undercuts look powerful in the hands of Coxhead, and, well, Hinz in particular looks to be quite strong with the undercut. The question is, how far back will someone like Lindsay Hobbs, who was there running in third place for the moment, come back out onto the track. We'll check in with Damon Mulqueen after his spin, unfortunately running around about 10 seconds behind Thomas Hinz in 11th place at the moment as he come through the last 2 turns on the track. Lindsay Hobbs has come back out about 2-3 seconds. It'll increase a little bit more in time here, so it could be about 4 seconds off of Thomas Hinz here as he builds back up to speed. As we check out the run to turn 1 for Mulqueen, there's got to be some kind of monumental lift from Liam Hall, I would have thought, to make that kind of a straightforward move there, as, well, Mulqueen's a man on a mission once again. 1.4 seconds faster than Liam Hall on that last lap, and only person to have beat him on that last lap was Matthew Bowler and Chris Coxhead and Thomas Hinz, I should say as well. A couple of people, but not that many. Once again, Mulqueen showing he's got 1 lap pace.
Well, Cameron Dance is looking nice and relaxed here, adjusting his glasses down the straight, and we hear from our director that he's starting to get into the beers as well. It's been a pretty dominant performance from Cameron Dance so far. He's led every lap so far in this race. As we check back to the battle for 4th, Simon Mazzomo not catching back up to Tyson Broad all that much. Robbie Bradbury is starting to reel him in. Took 3/10 out of him on the last lap, so Robbie Bradbury has really gotten into a rhythm now. But remember, these guys all have yet to come into the pits, so they will suffer a little bit on cold tyres at the end, and that could potentially make things difficult for them. Meanwhile, Thomas Hinz and Chris Coxhead fighting over 7th and 8th here. Hinzy has started reeling in Coxhead after he came in for his pit stop. Hinz has been on those tyres now for 7 laps. Chris Coxhead for 3, as that's a big problem for Mazzomo. Oh, that is huge. And where on earth is that? That might be at the...
Honda.
Oh, yeah. Exit of Honda. Goodness, what on earth happened there? We'll check out thanks to our friends at Virtual Racing School. Unfortunately, it was an incident that happened all by himself. Let's see what happened. Was it a lock-up on the way in? No. He ended up hooking up the apex nicely, but lost the rear in the middle of the corner. Tried to recover it, but overcorrected and collects the tyre bundle for his trouble.
Well, that is something I wasn't expecting to see from one of the front runners here tonight. But apparently, we've got everything available to us here, as it seems, as Matthew Bowler brings his car out of 2nd place to the pit lane to get his service complete. Now, let's see where he comes out in relation to Coxhead and Hinz, because we know Chris Coxhead was running 2nd place on the road when he came into the lane, but Thomas Hinz has gotten past him on this lap. So this is the pressure point now. Bowler's service complete and away from the number 12 machine, but at the back of the pit lane, he's going to come out with Taylor Oakes, who's down a couple of laps, unfortunately, for the 313 machine. Here comes Bowler accelerating, and here come Hinz and Coxhead at speed.
Oh, here we go. It's going to be 2x2 on the way into turn 1. No, it looks like they both complete 1 move for position each. But remember, these guys that have just come out of the pits, they're on cold tyres now, and that will make their pace not the best at the moment. It looks like Bowler has definitely still got a huge turn of pace on that car. So this is going to be a fight that I'm interested to see, Bowler versus Hinz.
Let's watch out for it here, because into the Honda hairpin we go. A little wide at a southern loop means that Bowler was a little bit compromised and vulnerable to Coxhead on the run down into the Honda hairpin, but not able to do anything with it. So check out the pedal cam of Thomas Hinz in that number 1 machine as he makes his way up through the hay shed here, and you can see nice and flat until we're on the brakes for Lukey Heights. Lengthy brake application, trying to get back in the power as much as he can over the top, and then ease back into the brakes for MG, and then try and get back on the power. Nice and aggressive again, but then look at a full lift for Hinz out of through turn 11. And then it's foot to the floor. Let's see how much of a lift we get through turn 12, if any. Actually, a decent amount of a lift there for Hinzy in the number 1 machine. And then onto the front stretch. And it is now full power until we get to the brakes for turn 1.
Tyson Broad, meanwhile, has come into the lane. These guys have just made their way past him. Broad just exiting the pits behind these drivers. and by some margin as well. Don't forget, Broad had an incident of his own just before, but he's come out just behind Lindsay Hobbs. So we'll see what kind of pace difference there is between them. As Bowler is dipping wheels into the grass on the exit of Southern Loop. Got the slipstream on Thomas Hins, who's going to go defensive now into Honda Hairpin. And will Bowler be able to line it up around the outside? He compromises Hins's exit just a little bit, but Hinsey does stay ahead. Coxhead has been brought right into it thanks to that little bit of side-by-side.
It's almost a thought there perhaps from Bowler, but not quite able to make it stick. But he's looking very, very racy, and he wants that spot quite promptly here. Up the inside of the hay shed, forces the door open, but around the outside of Lukey Heights is going to be ambitious to say the least. Here, Reese tries, but Hins gets his nose across, covers it off enough to seal the inside line for MG. But, well, now it's surely a matter of when, not if, with the way these two are going at it. Run out of the final turn here is going to be important. Bowler's looked a little bit washy through the corner. He tries to get up the inside there, but all that does is compromise the exit a fraction. Hins, though, looking a little bit washed through the exit as well. And that means it hurts his run to turn one. And now, who goes for the inside line? They're both in the middle of the road, but Hins doesn't quite cover it off. Bowler up the inside for turn one. But Hins is going to hang it around the outside and keep the apex for the Southern Loop, Reese.
Oh, this is great. Hinsey up the inside now. Bowler's going to have to yield that one, surely. We'll have to see on the exit. No, he's not going to do it. Nope. Oh, goodness. He's going to have the inside now for Honda Hairpin. And maybe he'll finally be able to complete the move that he tried to do at this point on the last lap. To the inside. Hinsey will try to hold the outside as best he can, but Bowler finally through and into fourth.
Well, that took 4 corners and a good kilometre of the road side by side to do it, but now he's through. What does Hins have, though, to stick it with him here as they run up through the Hayshed and Lukey Heights here? Lap 13 of 21 for these guys. Your race leader yet to pit is on lap 14 already, as we can see by the timing in the top left corner of your screen. Here as they come down into MG, those guys fighting over net second as, pardon me, not Daniel Cheney, Robbie Bradbury comes into the lane to take his service. We'll see where he comes out later on because, well, there's a nice bit of gap somewhere around net top 10. Bradbury potentially might not be even that far back as he's already rolling out of his boxes. You can see cars in the background of shot making their way onto the front stretch. Bradbury off the limiter. Will slot in behind Tyson Broad and ahead of Damon Mulqueen here, who's continuing to try and recover his race after that spin at the top of Lukey Heights.
Well, Bradbury's up to speed now at the apex of turn one, but will Mulqueen be able to get the move done on him? Remains to be seen. So we only have 2 cars left to come into the pits here. Cameron Dance and Daniel Cheney. Remember, they do have until the end of lap 18, I believe, to jump into the lane. There's the pass for Mulqueen up the inside of Bradbury, and that looked like a pretty textbook move done at Honda Hairpin. Bradbury's tyres, of course, still coming up to temperature after that pit stop. We check back in with Matthew Bowler and Thomas Hins. Hinsey's not allowed Bowler to get away.
He has not at all as they wind their way up the hill. Pardon me here, over Lukey Heights down to MG. It's nice and close, but looks like Bowler's got just enough, it seems, to not be under too much pressure into turn one, for example, as the man in P2, Daniel Cheney, brings his car to the pit lane to service himself now. He will fall back down the order a bit as these guys now have P2 on the road. And the question is, will they have a chance to go after P1? Because they're making some time in on Cam Dance. Nearly 4/10 gained last lap around alone. They haven't lost too much time scrapping in the previous couple of laps. They could be on to come out a little closer than we might have thought for the spot. As out of the pits comes Cheney. Mazomo, though, will take his place into turn one.
Mazomo then up into 9th. An interesting point you make about the gap that Cameron Dance has. He leads by 39.4 seconds, yet to take a pit stop. A lane transit time is around 37 seconds. You factor the pit stop into that, and slowing down and getting up to speed. Let's see if Cameron Dance comes out level with these guys. It would probably be around 41 seconds or thereabout that you lose in the midst of a pit stop. So every chance that Cameron Dance might have to fight his way through these guys. We'll have to wait and see. Dance has pulled into his box now. He's up on the jacks, getting the tyres done. These guys will make their way through MG. All about nailing the exit here. Dance is up on the revs, and he is away. Actually looks like he might cover them off here.
He gained 3.5 seconds in the pit stop cycle alone.
Yeah, wow, his stop was, like nearly 4 seconds quicker than Bowler's.
Yep, so that says a lot about tyre choice. I think I'd be very curious to see if we can chat to Cam about what tyre he chose to pick. There is a tiny bit of RNG when it comes to parking the car in the box and all that jazz. But depending on which tyres you take can have an effect on how quickly you can get things done here. So might have been tyres on one side of the car versus tyres at one end of the car. Now, Director Jay Kennedy estimating there, and well, probably on the monies there. So had been losing some time in the past couple of laps, but gains back 3 seconds stationary and now has all the time in the world to get himself up to speed here.
That he does. Very nice gap that Cameron Dance holds at the moment. He's 6.6 seconds ahead of Matthew Bowler as he makes his way into Lukey Heights. So it's all about now whether or not Bowler can catch up in these final 5 laps coming up. But I think that he'd have to almost be driving a GTE machine and not a GT3 Cup car in order to catch him up. So Dance, all he needs to do is hit his marks and he will come home for victory here at Phillip Island. But it is not over for second. Thomas Hinz still desperately trying to hold on to the gap. He's relying on the slipstream at the moment to keep himself in touch with Matthew Bowler.
Let's see here, down into turn 1, Hinz is closing, but not able to get there. So they will stay steady through turn 1 this time by personal best lap for Hinz there on lap number 16, I should say, 29.063. It's the second fastest of anyone in the server, only 300ths down on the leader's personal best. Matthew Bowler actually doesn't quite have the outright fastest time, despite the way he's cut through the field tonight, Reese. He has to settle for the 3rd fastest lap in the session tonight so far. Although he could turn that around still if he's got a little bit left in the car. Although it would seem he's going to have to find a bit of a genie in the bottle here, or going to have to be a big mistake from Dance to really reel them in here as they come up the hill. There's just over 4 laps to go here, and the gap holding relatively steady since Dance has come out of the pits.
Yeah, nice and steady. I think Bowler, he isn't focusing too much on trying to catch up to Cam Dance because Thomas Hinz is right in his rearview mirrors still. We're coming up now on 4 laps to go here. The field has been cleansed, as we like to say, and there we go. Cam Dance on the beers. So obviously not feeling the pressure, but Bowler certainly is.
Let's see here into turn 1. Still nothing changing between these two. What they have been able to do is drop Chris Coxhead into P4 a little bit isolated from this fight for second as they come round the turn. Well, just have a quick look back. I heard a little bit of radio talk from Tyson Broad in P6. He's got Damon Mulqueen behind him for company now as Mulqueen continues to try and recover. Unfortunately now still a fair ways back from Thomas Hinz, who he was racing earlier on in this one, but could get P6, might even be able to get P5 as Lindsay Hobbs has locked up out of P5 at Honda hairpin. Unfortunately, the 27 will drop back into P8 actually, make it P9 is, no, pardon me, the 313 there of Taylor Oaks unfortunately out of sequence, so back to P8 for Lindsay Hobbs, and that had been such a solid, quiet but solid race from him. Unfortunately, small mistake there will undo a lot of his good work tonight as we check it out on the replay from Virtual Racing School.
Yeah, well, Looks like lock up on the way in, braked maybe a little too late for the corner, and a little trip lawn mowing will cost him ultimately 3 positions. Well, out of the final corner then for the 4th last time for Bowler and Hins, and once again Hinsey is lining him up here in the slipstream. He's actually going to go for the move at turn 1. No, not going to be able to do it. Bowler does give him some room, goes wide. He'll defend the inside on the way into Southern Loop.
Well, it's getting pretty busy out here on track now. This fight for second continues to brew. I mean, less than 3 laps to go now. These guys clearly, they know what the situation is here. As Dance continues to pump out solid laps, he's only losing a 10th or so on the last lap at least in comparison. So this is where it's at for these two as they come out of Honda hairpin. Meanwhile, we'll quickly check in with this now fight for P5. Tyson Broad defensive from Damon Mulqueen here. Reese into Honda. Question is, can Mulqueen do anything with it this time by on the exit? Doesn't look like it. Broad able to go out nice and wide and cover off any moves. So now our eyes focus on the fight for P2, the fight for P5. We'll also check in with the fight for P9 because Simon Zomo has not been able to shake Daniel Cheney. And so 3 pairs across the top 10. Worth keeping our eyes on in these final laps of the race.
Indeed. It looks like Mazomo's not feeling too much pressure from Cheney at the moment. But this fight between Broad and Mulqueen will continue to the flag, I would imagine. Both of these drivers suffering big mistakes over the course of this race and missing out on what could have potentially been easy top 5s, maybe a podium, all things considered. So let's see what they do then on the way into turn 1. Mulqueen in the slipstream of Tyson Broad, and he's a bit too far back to get it done into turn 1, but he might be able to line one up into the Honda hairpin if he can get a good exit out of Southern Loop. This is the point where he can determine that. Tight on the entry, and it looks like Hins and Bowler have started streaking away from Chris Coxhead here. Chris hasn't had much of an answer for these guys. Tyson Broad has an answer for the grass meanwhile, and that almost brings Mulqueen into it. He's going to have a look up the inside to try and keep unsettling the driver of the number 25, but again, doesn't work out.
That was close there for Broad as he put it through his paces. Meanwhile, out of P10, Daniel Cheney's gone around at Honda. Wobble though for Tyson Broad there on the exit of Siberia. Meanwhile, Hinsey is closer than I think he's been so far. There we go. Mulqueen up the inside on the exit of Honda, or Siberia, pardon me, puts him on the outside of Hayshed. Doesn't matter, it's the inside for Lukey Heights. But if Broad can hold it around the outside here, he gets the inside for MG. As the leaders are coming to take the white flag here to start the final lap of the race. It is on between our 2 pairs that we've got to worry about all over the track. In fact, Robbie Bradbury and Rinsey Hobbs also apparently not too far apart. But here we go to the outside for turn 1 this time for Hins.
Can he pull it up for the inside of Southern Loop? Room given by Matthew Bowler, and Hinsey up the inside at the apex. Can he get it done on the way out? Oh, it's very close between them. Hins does have a bit of extra momentum. It is side by side almost here between Broad and Mulqueen. Broad gives Mulqueen room on the inside, but he's going to hook it up. And Bowler tries to fight back here at Honda. Can they get it done? Oh, side by side on the exit. Yep, Mulqueen in the grass, but Hins is going to try up the inside of Siberia. Oh, it looks like Bowler, though, hooks up the exit beautifully around the outside, and he's going to just protect second. Hinsey's last chance to get second here is a dive up the inside into MG.
Maybe thought about the move up the inside of Lukey Heights, which would have been a very compromising spot to be. Not quite going to work. A little wobble from the rear of the number 1 machine. He will have a chance perhaps with a run off the exit of this corner, but he's close. Maybe too close here to make something work. Meanwhile, he's been uncontested from the start. We thought maybe he'd be under pressure, but an incredible pit strategy has paid off beautifully for him. That's another race win. It's a clean sweep for Cam Dance in the flat 6s.
Brilliant job from the Kiwi, and looks like Bowler is going to fend off Hins for second. An excellent job from Bowler to work his way through almost the entire field. Finishes coming up here for Bradbury and Hobbs, and Mulqueen, unfortunately, with his spin on the final lap, is going to come home in 8th place. So some massively varying fortunes here tonight, but Cameron Dance, the only car in the field to not have a change from his starting position. He led all the way, and that is just about the most dominant performance that I've seen at Phillip Island in a Porsche.
Yeah, that really tells us how, well, we thought for a second he might have been under pressure, but he pulls off the perfect pit stop, gets even more time in his back pocket, and then doesn't even worry about looking in his rearview mirror. So he'll bring it around to the front stretch. You can also say that he kept it completely on the black stuff. No incident points at all during that race, which we can also say the same for Thomas Hinz and Robbie Bradbury in that one there tonight. And, well, that's some good racing all round, given we saw the fighting for second place between Matthew Bowler and Thomas Hinz, and also the other fights. And unfortunately, sort of shifted and changed there on the last lap, but still plenty of cars coming close across the line there at the end of that one. So let's walk you through the results from the flat sixes at Phillip Island tonight. Confirming again, your race winner was Cameron Dance, 6.4 seconds ahead Matthew Bowler, who just ekes out Thomas Hinz there for the second and third, respectively. Chris Coxhead not quite able to stay with those two in front of him, but will, I think, be reasonably happy with a 4th place finish there, and plenty ahead of Tyson Broad, who brings it up from 10th to 5th. Robbie Bradbury, a solid race for him, brings it home in 7th, and actually 6th, pardon me, takes it up 6 spots as well. Short of Matthew Bowler was dry from the rear of the field. That's the most places gained tonight by anyone. Unfortunately for Lindsay Hobbs, lost a spot there. Little mistake cost him. Could have been on for that P5 finish, but I think he'll be fairly happy with P7. David Mulqueen, a mistake on the out lap with the cold tyres, puts him back in P8. And then Simon Mazzomo, another driver with an unexpected mistake down at Honda, P9 for him. And then Liam Hall rounding out the top 10 here tonight.
Could have been a top 10 for Daniel Cheney, but unfortunately losing it under brakes at Honda hairpin means he finishes 11th ahead of Benjamin Faulkner and Isaac Edwards, the last driver to finish on the lead lap. Taylor Oakes will come home 1 lap down, and unfortunately John Courtney and Cruz Mason did not make it to the finish. Wow. A very eventful sequence of events here in the flat sixes. Cameron Dance beginning his victory celebrations, and I'm seeing it on live on my end now. You're about to see it. He'll go for the old put it up against the wall and burn out the rear tyres.
Yeah, gets started and bonk. That'll do. Starts spinning him up there. He does.
Doesn't need the rubber anymore.
No, he does not. And, well, he's waiting for a quick chat here to wrap things up. So let's get him in here now while he's still doing those burnout skids. Well, starting from the pole was certainly a good way to get the race going, Cam, but you were not pressured tonight. And then you pulled a pit stop that was over 3 seconds faster than anyone else behind you. So which tyres did you take in the end we presume was what helped make that possible tonight?
Left sides really, because that's the closest to the pit garage. So based on how this car works, it's similar to GT3, where it's the side that the garage is on, and yeah, that was pretty much the side we took. And from there, it was pretty much just a matter of driving away and hopefully not falling off the road with cold tyres.
Yeah, we did see a couple of drivers unfortunately coming unstuck further on in the pack, but well, looks like that wasn't an issue for you at the end of it all, well, at any point during this race. Obviously, getting a gap of about 2 seconds in that opening phase certainly makes things a little bit comfy for you there. Was there any moment at all you're thinking maybe someone can come through like Hinsey, or in the case of Matt Bowler there, who came from the back row, just unfortunately not able to convert there when it came to sheer pace, or just having to overcome the gap also in the pit stop too, as it turned out. But any concerns during that race of potentially someone coming in there to try and challenge you for the lead?
I thought Bowler might have been able to fight off the pain that he's in and managed to get to my rear end, but no, not quite the case. He managed to get second, so pretty good effort regardless. But yeah, based on the pace that we had over Hinsey and Coxhead last night and pretty much everybody else, it was really just going to be a matter of cruising away and doing exactly what we did in race 1, which was win and pretty much take it again.
Yeah, well, certainly checked all the marks there in your pre-race plan. The execution tonight. We'll see the flat sixes in a couple of weeks' time when the V8SCOPS Circus heads to Imola. It'll be a short sprint race for that one on the Friday night as part of the, well, somewhat the support to the big support with the 2 Litre Tourers. Thoughts about how things will go there for you? It'll be 2 60k races on the Friday night.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously, Imola is probably one of my more favourable tracks. So, yeah, looking forward to it, seeing what happens. Obviously, championship is probably the main goal at this point based on the fact we're leading and we're getting some decent points now. So, yeah, we'll continue to try and do what we can. If we can get a win, we can get a win. But, yeah, I'm not going to be too fussed either way.
Well, before we let you go, Cam, who do you want to thank tonight for the results?
Well, I've actually got to think about this one because it's a new car and a new team. But, yeah, obviously, all the team at Orbit Motorsport, car's really, really hooked up. So, yeah, cheers to them, and obviously Cheney and Taylor for turning up and getting some team points. Hybrid Tune, Sim3D, Demon Tweaks, Fight CRC, and in case I've missed anyone else off the car, anyone that's on it. So, yeah, cheers to everybody who's on board. It's been really, really good to have the new team getting some success, and hopefully it continues.
Well, we sure hope so for your sake indeed. Cam Dance, clean sweep of the results from Phillip Island in the flat sixes this weekend. Well, we do have second and third standing by. Maybe we get them in for a quick chat, Reese, before we wrap things up tonight?
Yeah.
All right, we will. So let's grab in second place man, and we'll leave it to you, Reese, to chat with Matthew Bowler here.
That was a mammoth climb through the field for you, Matthew. I know that you've been feeling under the weather a little bit health-wise, but certainly didn't hurt your pace.
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, I didn't really quite expect to get where I did. I did absolutely no practice. I think I did 4 laps before jumping in, and I wasn't really planning on doing the whole thing. Yeah, I'm pretty flat at the moment, pretty sick and sore, so yeah, I just did it and finished second somehow. So I had a good battle with Hinsey, but yeah, Cam was just way too quick.
Yeah, just take us through like your opening laps, because there was some chaos on the way through in the first half of the race. Phillip Island, obviously a good track for overtaking in these cars.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the broadcast would have got most of the good battling, but yeah, off the start, I was already in the wall with about one start box ahead of me. I was already in the wall there. But yeah, me and Hinsey were probably side by side for multiple laps in a row, so you can really, get a few car lengths each way on every single corner of this track. So yeah, it's definitely a good place to battle at, but yeah, so action-packed, you don't really get a second to stop.
Or can we expect you at Imola? Because we know that you like this car. We know that it's one of your main rides in sim racing. So hopefully that trend continues.
Yeah, I've always liked driving this car around Imola. I did a few laps with Dan actually a while ago, and I loved every bit of driving around Imola in the Cup car. So yeah, I'll probably end up racing there. I'm sure I'll be feeling better by then. So yeah, should see me there.
All right, we certainly hope you do, and we wish all the best for your future health. Get well soon, Matthew. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'll just thank the guys at Visceral Esports. You guys are commentating, and obviously Jay for putting on the broadcast here at SimSpeed, and just V8SCOPS as well.
Well, there we have
go.
it.
Indeed. Jinx. That's Matthew Bowler with an excellent drive through the field, Dan, and finally we'll wrap it up with Thomas Hen's third place.
We will indeed. Well, Hinsey, checking back in with the chat from last night, a bit of a recovery drive for you tonight, having to start mid-pack in 9th, but got to the front after making an early pit stop, and gave Matt Bowler a run for his money there. But unfortunately, having to settle for third place. Hopefully, you're still pretty happy with that one.
Yeah, happy after last night. Yeah, just it's been a really mixed couple of days of races. Really, I won the TCR yesterday, and then the Porsche one I stuffed up in that yesterday and got the drive through and had to come back through, and then today it was the other way around where I stuffed the TCR and got a penalty, and then had this one. So bit all over the joint, which is not something I try to usually do. I usually think consistency is usually what I do well, so it's been a bit weird, but I guess that's life these days. Very frantic and everything, but yeah, good to come back through. I was hoping to get a podium, probably minimum was what I was aiming for pre-race, and got a good launch and got away. And my plan was to pit pretty much straight away. I wanted to obviously not lose time battling people and just get some clean air because I knew my raw pace was going to be pretty good. So pitted, got out there, was able to pump in some laps, jumped most of the people I was around, and then credit to Chris for letting me go there with the championship fight and everything, and then had an awesome fight there with Matt once again. Had a few good battles in lately actually. Had a few battles in AOG as well. So awesome battle again, and tried to get him, but he just held on. So no, credit to him, awesome drive, and a great drive to Cam to take dub win as well.
Yeah, it was indeed. Well, sounds like you're going to be a very busy man when it comes to racing the V8 SCOPS calendar, as you said, 2 litre Touros as well for you, but also here in flat sixes, which means that, not even just this weekend, but the rest of the endurance calendar for the main event with V8 SCOPS will mean that you're triple duty, if not double duty, at least depending on how things go for you.
It's pretty tough. I mean, I work night shifts as well, so I'm into work in about an hour. I'll be heading to work, so for 8 hours during the night. So I've got that joy of race, and I've got to go in and work and then come back and everything. So it's pretty hectic to say the least, and especially obviously this weekend because we're a double header, and it's the first enduro, and I'm sort of technically lead for this one because Brett's can't do it, so I'm having to sort of take lead duties for this one. So it's a lot, but I guess I like torturing myself a bit maybe, but it'll be good to tomorrow obviously with the main event with Scops. I'm keen to get enduros and hopefully have some good results this time. We don't really have a lot of luck, me and Brett, in these, but hopefully this year we can get some results I feel like we really deserve.
Well, before we let you go, Hinsey, and let you get on with things, because that's a very busy schedule for you. Who do you want to thank tonight for the result?
Just the usual, all the guys at HR for being awesome, particularly actually Chris. I got to thank Chris actually for this because I was trying a couple of different sets that I've got and just trying to figure out what was the best one, and I'd sent him one for the last round, and then he was using that, and he said it was actually not too bad, and I tried it, and it was actually really good. So really I have to thank Chris for alerting me to the set that I had was actually really good here. So I'll thank Chris for that top tip. Other than that, just HR and all the guys, and obviously Henry and everyone who run awesome stuff with supports, and big thanks to you guys for awesome broadcasts as well.
Oh, there we are. The third man on the podium, Thomas Hins, taking that third place spot in the flat sixes tonight. And well, here's where things go for the next of the Logitech G V8 SCOPS Support Series races. We're back in action in 3 weeks' time, or technically just under now, Reese. And, well, it's kind of a double header, but it's the first of our endurance races for the support categories themselves. 250 Ks of 2 litre Tourer racing for everyone in that group, yourself included, on the Saturday night. The V8s and the flat sixes will be our warm-up on the Friday with 60-kilometre sprints. Well, it's going to be a very interesting night of action in that case.
Yeah, certainly is. I'll be with you in the comms box, obviously, for V8s and flat sixes on Friday, but I think I might have to start practicing now for Imola because that 2 litre Tourer race is going to be a real hard slog. I'm looking forward to it all the same.
And then, of course, well, the action is not done here from Phillip Island. We're back tomorrow afternoon from 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time for the Too Easy Finance Phillip Island 500. Endurance Cup time is here. It is time to see who can put their name at the top of the sheets in this long-form racing in the Commodore and Mustang supercars. So make sure to catch us with that afternoon time slot tomorrow when we get that action underway with the qualifying before the race. And well, we're going to have ourselves a very exciting afternoon by the sound of things, from pre-qualifying to say the least, Reese. A big thank you to everyone for watching and joining us here tonight for the Logitech G V8 SCOPS Support Series action from Phillip Island. Hope you've enjoyed all the racing that we've been able to show you here from at least the Saturday action. Make sure to join us tomorrow for the V8 SCOPS racing proper. But until then, or until whenever you join us next time on SimSpeed, thank you all for watching. My name is Daniel Yeaman. It's been Reese Gardner alongside me in the comms box and Jay Kennedy on production. Take care and have a good one. It's bye for now.
What does it take to win? Is it something you're born with? Is it the grind? Every day. Gear up. Do battle. For the 10,000th time. Or is it pushing to your absolute limits? To be faster. Always faster. Insanely precise. Totally free and at one with the game. Or maybe it's just getting to that place where nothing else matters. Nothing in the way of winning.